homeless man approaches and suddenly smacks her in the head, dumped feces all over her.
A bucket of his diarrhea. It was liquid, hot liquid. I was soaked.
You can't help all the homeless people. You'll never house all the homeless people. You'll never fix all the homeless people. And we're all laughing at you and the stupid things you do, 'cause you haven't got a clue.
They're pretty aggressive. Even if you don't have anything, they kind of come off rude sometimes.
So homeless people like me. You can fix all the homeless people like me. You can fix all the homeless people like me. You can fix all the homeless people like me. You can fix all the homeless people like me. You can fix all the homeless people like me. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Like gold, nitro, my flow, nice clothes, like
whoa. But this University of Alberta thing, it kind of has me like, whoa. Like, whoa. Like, whoa. Like, whoa.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What? Ain't that what you say? Ain't that what you say? Ain't that what you say?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion? We'll have that discussion. You called me. You told me. All right, let's not.
I think you called me a liar. I think you called me a liar. I think you called me a liar on national TV.
I don't want to get nailed. I just want to say hi, Bernie. Yeah, good. Okay.
But in this entire matter, your actions were not those of a citizen who has respect for law and order. This gun should have been immediately turned over to the police department.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what's worth fighting for?
Do you realize that it is against the law in the state of New York to carry a gun?
Yes, sir.
Do you realize that it is against the law in the state of New York to pawn an article that doesn't belong to you?
Yes, sir.
I am going to dismiss this case. But tell me one thing, Stevens. If you should ever find a gun like this again, what would you do?
Pawn it in New Jersey.
121 guns. Lay down your arms.
Be careful with the gun, Kingpin. Don't worry about me, son. I think it's against the antitrust laws to carry a gun in New York.
We're in a position right now, we have to remember who we are. African Americans, brown, black, women, men, gay, straight.
And make sure we go to the black and brown communities where you can't breathe the air or drink the water that comes out of the tap safely.
This debate isn't real. I was in Vegas the other day and someone said, don't put your chips on a number on the wheel that isn't even on the wheel. That's the problem.
We also have to think about how we spend money.
It was working. It was being held tightly. There was no movement on the part of the
tornadoes made of fire.
How would you prevent that from happening again?
Okay, let me tell you. But before I tell you that, let me tell you something else.
That our giant corporations make billions of dollars in taxes, make billions of dollars in profits.
By the CEOs of large corporations.
Senator Klobuchar, I'd like to bring you in here.
Brianne, I want to hit reality here.
Tornadoes made of fire.
Joe Biden is a rabid dog. He should be beaten to death with a stick. I count that.
Other than that, you like him.
Other than that, I like him, and he
It's going to take a view to the future as well as the readiness to learn from the lessons of the past. And for me, those lessons of the past are tornadoes made of fire.
I hear that.
Let's go do it.
A couple in suburban Atlanta tonight says the only reason they bought one of these Ring security cameras 3 weeks ago was to keep an eye on the dog.
Ring doorbell, ring doorbell, ring doorbell hack. Ring doorbell, what you use? Scratch your nutsack. Prying and spying on you has begun. Now that the ring.
In the morning.
In the morning.
In the morning. Can you give me a little bit of level? You sound so low.
Yeah, well. Our hearts collectively break for Naris Hamid and his family during this challenging times, Matsui said. Our U.S. military has relied on the expertise and professionalism of linguistics in almost every mission around the globe, especially in Iraq.
Okay, perfect. Perfect, I say. Okay, let's see. I think we can do this.
Fat lady!
Wow, loud lady. The lady is loud.
Fat lady! Fat bitch! Valkyrie! It's the Noah Chamber Show.
All right, everybody, it is that time once again when we fire up the bat signal. There it goes. Make sure you head over to the tweeters, to the No Agenda Social, retweet the tweet, boost the toot. Episode 1208 is next. Yeah, I nailed it. Or something. Snip-diddy snop, snip-diddy hop, snop, snoppity snoop. 1, 2, 2. 2. Testing. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. fuck that? What's going on? Uh-oh. Oh, I see. Diddy-do-do, snip-diddy-snoop, snap. Oh. Did we lose JCD? Yes? What happened? Hello? Hello, hello? Okay. I do not hear you. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Oh, that's interesting. Hello? Something's wrong. Yeah, hold on. Something is wrong.
Hey.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay. Hold on. What's going on? This is odd. Oh, brother. Now what happened? 212. What the fuck? Well, this is odd. Don't hang up, man. Can you hear me? 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. That was very strange. All of a sudden, the mix minus just went down to 0.
I know what caused it.
What?
Not to be superstitious.
I sang Cinco de Mayo. You just didn't hear it because something was broken.
I heard Cinco de Mayo.
Well, what was wrong then?
And then I kept listening, and I never heard right immediately after Cinco de Mayo. Nailed it.
Yeah, I said it. I think that's when it broke.
Well,
I said nailed it. I said nailed it.
I heard too much music.
I said nailed it.
But not right away.
No, since when is this a thing?
Apparently it is.
Now I have to pee.
Okay.
You throw me off my game.
No, you did it yourself.
No!
And since we now have people that record this part of the show, I will regale them with a tune. Thank you. Now for my second song, let me get this thing set up.
Huh? What?
Oh, no.
Wait, test. 1,
Adam
2,
Curry,
3, 4.
John C. Dvorak.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That's how the pros do it, ladies and gentlemen. I'll keep saying it.
You know, there's somebody that records this part of the show and posts it.
Yeah. What about it?
Yeah.
This happens all the time. There's a whole...
I think we should be more entertaining.
Speak for yourself.
Hey, while you were gone, I played a flute solo.
Yeah, but that's already been recorded.
Well, this one was slightly a variation. This is a variation on a theme. So are we ready, or we have to start playing the thing over again?
John's going to be performing.
I don't know how anyone plays this thing.
Hold on 1 second.
Yes, a classic. Well, I was on a roll that day.
Yeah, you were. Okay. Okay. Ready when you are.
Hit it.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, January 16, 2020. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1208.
This is No Agenda.
Nailing Labiche facts and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
I'm from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm ready with a cowbell. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
You almost disappeared there with your cowbell. Were you leaning away from the microphone?
No, I just probably blew out everything.
You changed something. You changed something. You did. I'm telling you, you changed something since we tested. We always do a test before the show. Tell me you twiddled your knobs.
Change.
You twiddled a knob. I know you did. You twiddled a knob.
I don't twiddle knobs.
Yeah, you do. You're a knob twiddler. You're one of those guys who would say, oh, something's broken, and then you're twiddling knobs.
Yeah, well, if I had knobs to twiddle, I would.
Okay. I must say that, personally, I'm tired of it all. How about you?
I loved it. The last debate was the worst ever.
Now,
who could ask for anything more?
Now, they had incredible ratings for CNN's time slot for their debate. 7.3 million viewers, up from the PBS debate, which was 6.2. So I guess their, the last few days before the debate, their ratings gambit worked. They got the fight going between Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, and people tuned in for it. And I think they were not disappointed. The people, well, we were disappointed.
Not disappointed. It was the worst. It wasn't anything interesting. I will say that the debate between Elizabeth and Bernie was quite amusing, especially I caught the start at the end. I have the hot mic.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I think is the way to listen to the start with that, and then we can go into the debate if you want to do that. But this is the hot mic clip.
I think a liar on national TV. What? I
think you called me a liar on national TV?
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that
Anytime.
discussion. You called me a liar. You told me. All right, let's not do it now.
I don't want to get in the middle of it. I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good. Okay.
The best part of that clip was Steyer saying, I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, what a brown-nosing jerk.
Well, it shows you where he is in the standing. I mean, he doesn't even get to say hi to Bernie normally. That's how low on the totem pole Mr. Steyer is.
Oh, yes, and then Bernie just brushed him off.
But see, this was what CNN intended. This was their show. Their entire show was around Bernie and Warren, and this he said, he didn't say. That's what it was, and they got a 1.1 extra million viewers because of it. That was the whole purpose of the debate. Everything else, I agree, was the worst ever. But from that television perspective, they didn't blow it out right away. They brought it in about a quarter of the way through. Then they had another tense moment, and then at the end, and they had to release this video with the audio after the debate because the televised version didn't have the audio.
Right.
So
yeah, somebody
why do you think somebody snuck it? Oh yeah, Jeff Zucker gave it himself posted himself on YouTube. Please. You think that was a leak?
I mean, it was the whole thing was a giant scam. You are correct. We might as well listen to this. I have the Liz versus Bernie opener.
Okay. Yeah.
CNN reported yesterday that, and Senator Warren confirmed in a statement that in 2018 you told her that you did not believe that a woman could win the election. Why did you say that?
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it. And I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this because this is what Donald Trump and maybe some of the media want. Anybody knows me knows that it's incomprehensible that I would think that a woman could not be president of the United States. Go to YouTube today. There's a video of me 30 years ago talking about how a woman could become president of the United States. In 2015, I deferred, in fact, to Senator Warren. There was a movement to draft Senator Warren to run for president. And you know what? I stayed back. Senator Warren decided not to run, and I did run afterwards. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million votes. How could anybody in a million years not believe that a woman could become president of the United States? And let me be very clear. If any of the women on this stage or any of the men on this stage win the nomination, I hope that's not the case. I hope it's me. But if they do, I will do everything in my power to make sure that they are elected in order to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of our country.
Right. So he was ready for the question. He got the question.
Well, if he was ready for the question, he should have been ready to throw it back at him and say, this is a setup by you guys, because he did say the media. He says, this is what Trump and the media wants us to bitch about this. He should have thrown it back and said, this is a setup question. You guys specifically ran this up in a average. Yeah, hey, he should have just thrown it back at him. It would have been fantastic if he had done that.
Well,
but no.
I didn't say he had a good retort. He was ready for it. He had something, but yeah, what he didn't expect was the next part, which I guess is which clip is that?
The Liz versus Bernie retort.
So Senator Sanders, I do want to be clear here. You're saying that you never told Senator Warren that a woman could not win the election.
That is correct.
Senator Warren, what did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
I disagreed.
That was fantastic. Now, I mean,
that was the most chicken shit thing you could possibly do, and it was hilarious.
Now, just to be clear how this works, this is one of our favorite ways of doing reporting. In fact, one of the CNN analysts, Jess McIntosh, had this to say about this after the debate.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that the moment between Warren and Bernie is obviously the one that's going to be replayed the most. And I think what Bernie forgot was that this isn't a he said, she said story. This is a reported out story that CNN was part of breaking. So to have him just flat out say no, I think wasn't nearly enough to address that for the women watching.
Now, that was actually something in the original question. Let me just see. Listen to what the CNN moderator says here.
CNN reported yesterday that, and Senator Warren confirmed in a statement.
So the way this works is someone from the Warren campaign calls CNN and says, man, can you believe what happened in 2016 when Bernie said that in a private dinner to Warren? They say, now they don't know it's the Sanders campaign, of course. And they call up Elizabeth Warren and say, hey, did that happen? And then she says, oh, yeah, that's true. I confirm it. So she didn't say, she just confirmed it. It's the circular reporting that we're always laughing about. And they literally said she confirmed it. And, CNN was instrumental in breaking this. That was the entire ratings bonanza, and it brought in 1 million viewers. That's not bad. That's 1,000 CPMs. That's pretty good.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, considering these things were moribund and dead on the vine, and there was no other possibilities going on here.
No, they had nothing. They needed. You need a controversy, and that's what it was. And it was kind of good for Joe because he got to hang back and.
He didn't say much.
No, and he not only that, but he was when he did speak, it was whew.
Oh, it's bad.
In fact, he threw out one. What was this? I had. It's my favorite.
We are in a position right now. We have to remember who we are.
Well, it's not who we are. It's like Obama's lines. This is not who we are. It's not who we are. He was just throwing all kinds of shit out there. And Steyer. No, Steyer was good. This was one. There was a lot of this during the debate.
I would do it from the standpoint of environmental justice and make sure we go to the black and brown communities where you can't breathe the air or drink the water that comes out of the tap safely.
Most racist thing I've heard.
It's unbelievable.
The black and brown communities, as if that's like one, where are the black and brown people? Oh, they're in the community over there? Oh, okay, thanks. You go over the hill in the black and brown community. How do you? Well,
actually, I have that as a larger clip.
Oh, good. Because how do you think the Black Americans feel about this when they're going for something tangible, some reparations?
Yeah, and they can't breathe their own air,
and they get brown people. They're trying to breathe their own air, which is unbreathable, and they throw in some brown people as if it's all the same. It's so racist. That guy. He doesn't even know it.
He's a moron, and he's obviously a kiss ass. He has to go over to introduce himself to Bernie after all these debates.
Did you see? Come on, did buddy. You see? I don't know if you got the clip. The first question for Steyer was, "Well, you've been a businessman. You've been in finance." No, he made his money in coal, but they couldn't bring themselves to say it. They couldn't bring themselves to say, "Hey, you made your money in coal." No, it was finance. Okay, thanks.
Well, here's where his target was environmentalism, and he listened for the round of applause. There's a round of applause in here that he gets. Just listen for it because it's very funny.
But this is why climate is my number one priority, and I'm still shocked that I'm the only person on this stage who will say this. I would declare a state of emergency on day one on climate. I would do it from the standpoint of environmental justice and make sure we go to the black and brown communities where you can't breathe the air or drink the water that comes out of the tap safely. But I also know this. We're going to create millions of good-paying union jobs across this country. It's going to be the biggest job program in American history.
Yeah, well, can't wait. Ready for it.
But I just love it. So he says there's one guy out there clapping for calling it for a national emergency.
Hold on a second. National emergency, everybody.
Stand by. Black and brown people can't breathe. National emergency. Stand by. Environmental justice. Stand by. Stand by.
Probably the most embarrassing thing for Bernie was this Liz Warren. I don't know if I have this clip, but it's not really that important. But she goes on about herself and bragging about how she's the only person that's beat a Republican in the last 30 years.
Yeah. And then Joe says, hey, that was me.
Well, then Bernie comes out. No, not Joe. Bernie comes out and says, "Oh, I beat somebody in 1990."
Oh no, it's Bernie. You're right. I'm sorry, it was Bernie.
And so she's looking around and she's doing takes. She's doing like double takes and mugging, and they had the camera on.
Yeah.
And so she's going, "What?" Then she calls him out on it, and then he doesn't even understand the math. and just keeps barreling ahead and changes the subject. And I thought it was a point for her, even though it still made them both look silly. This debate's Liz and Bernie 30 years ago, too.
To set the record straight, I defeated an incumbent Republican running for Congress.
When?
1990. That's how I won, beat a Republican congressman. Number two, of course, I don't think there's any debate up here.
Wasn't that 30 years ago?
I beat an incumbent Republican congressman.
And I said I was the only one who's beaten an incumbent Republican in 30 years.
Well, 30 years ago is 1990, as a matter of fact. But I don't know that that's the major issue of the day.
No, it is the meme of the hour.
What an idiot.
I get it. You know, how old is Bernie? 76? You get a little slower than that.
He's 80.
He's 80?
Yeah. I think he's 80 or he's close to it.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
My favorite, the other one, I do have one more with Bernie. Most of my clips are quite short. You just heard the long ones. But there was one Bernie, it's called, I think I have it down as an ISO. This is under Bernie. It's Bernie, before I tell you. This, I think, he just did this on this is Bernie, completely Bernie.
Bernie. I see. Okay, it's not under debate. Yeah, you've labeled it weird today. Okay, here we go.
Tell you, but before I tell you that, let me tell you something else.
It's the best performative of the evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Tell you, but before I tell you that, let me tell you something else.
I'll tell you, but before I tell you that, I'll tell you something else. I think that's pretty good. That's end of show worthy, really. It's kind of.
Well, I got a bunch of them, so we'll go over them.
Oh, okay.
Now let's go to my favorite was, of course. Here's the gobbledygook. This is Biden. I want you to explain to me what he's actually saying, if you can even understand his words.
Oh, shoot. Dropped it. Hold on. Here we go.
So it's a fundamental difference than negotiating with other countries. It's fundamentally the requirement that we use our special forces in small numbers to coordinate with other countries to bring together coalitions.
Well, it's apparently what they've done during the 8 years that he was vice president. Coordinate.
So it's a fundamental difference than negotiating with other countries. It's fundamentally the requirement that we use our special forces in small numbers to coordinate with other countries to bring together coalitions.
No. No. He's just not qualified to do this. Can you imagine if he becomes the nominee and he has to stand against Trump? It's just not going to work. He's just going to melt.
Well, it could. There's one opportunity for him.
What's that?
Trump's such a bully with guys like this that, they try to, he would start ridiculing his inability to pronounce negotiating and other words, and start to make people feel so sorry for Joe they might vote for him. Because nobody felt sorry for Jeb Bush.
No. And by the way,
nobody felt sorry for any of the Republicans that Trump went after.
I think it was Van Jones. Man, I knew you were clipping all this, so I didn't get very much. I think he actually called Joe Biden low energy. I think he actually said it was low energy. Fox and Friends did something interesting, which was a very nice propaganda piece. They ran, because, Trump did a rally during the debate, of course, counter-programming, in Milwaukee, I want to say. I think it was Milwaukee. So while they're debating, he's, up on stage doing his thing. So the next morning, Fox took the debate side by side with Trump and played a quote. I have it here. So you play a quote from something from the debate and then Trump with the counterpoint. And what was super nice about this from a propaganda standpoint was the left screen, which was left for a reason, was black and white, and the right screen with Trump was in color.
We have a president who is lying again and could drag us into a war that is even worse than the war in Iraq.
Bernie and the radical left cannot protect your family, and they cannot protect our country, nor do they want to, I think.
We have lost our standing in the region. We have lost the support of our allies.
America is winning again. America is respected again.
We could do much better than a Trump-led trade deal.
We will enact trade deals that result in more products proudly stamped with that beautiful phrase, made in the USA.
I am ready to take on this president on the economy.
Our economy is booming, wages are rising, poverty is plummeting.
No one is above the law. That includes the President of the United States.
While we're creating jobs and killing terrorists, Democrats in Congress are wasting America's time with demented hoaxes and crazy witch hunts.
This is a decency check on our government. This is a patriotism check.
At stake in our present battle is the survival of the nation. What these people are doing, they will destroy our nation.
These Republicans, led by Mr. Trump, basically kicking the American people in the face.
Republicans are fighting for citizens from every background and from every race, religion, color, and creed. We are a movement.
I gotta say, they did a good job on that.
Now, what was this? Let's go over this again.
So they opened the show, and from the night before, from the debate.
What show?
Fox and Friends in the morning. It's their stupid morning show. Hey, everybody's Fox and Friends.
Yeah, I never watch it.
Well, no, of course you don't watch it. I don't watch it either.
Nobody watches it.
No, people watch
this
it.
Was not an ad. This was something they put together?
John, it was an ad. It just wasn't paid for. It wasn't in an ad slot. Ad. Of course it is. That's how they open their hour with this. So left screen, black and white, these clips of the debate. Right screen, Trump, full color in Milwaukee, back and forth.
I wonder who put this together.
I know it's new. I haven't seen them do this, and I liked it because if you want to satisfy your viewership, it's stuff like that that's going to work. It was very slick, but the black and white and the color that really punched it home. So yeah, obviously an ad. Hello.
So back to the debates. My favorite debater, I saved her clips for last.
Amy Klobuchar. Amy. Yes, I thought she was fantastic.
Oh,
I love Amy Klobuchar.
As a comedian.
Let me tell you, if I had to choose from any person on that stage, I'd choose her.
Let's listen to a couple of things I got from her. For one thing, I've got a pretty good ISO.
It's even called a pretty good ISO.
I think that sounds pretty good.
Nah, that's our end of show right there.
I got more.
I'm putting it into the slot just in case.
All right, here. Now, I got some short one. Here's, we'd like to talk about people dropping the T.
Oh, yeah.
This is an absolute beauty because I didn't know you could drop the T with this word.
My Republican opponents have gotten out of politics for good.
Opponents?
No, opponent.
What was that? Let me just...
Opponent. She's trying to say opponent.
My Republican opponents.
Opponents? She's dropping a P.
She's dropping a P and a T.
Opponents.
My Republican opponents have gotten out of politics for good.
Now, under stress, people do make mistakes.
Oh, she was shaking like a leaf,
as
usual.
No, it wasn't as bad as it has been in the past.
It wasn't as bad as the first debate, but it was bad considering how many she's done of these. She's nervous sounding.
As an eye twitcher and a Tourette sufferer, it doesn't bother me. I think it makes her look interesting.
That she it doesn't makes her look dumb. But I think worse than that is still the schoolboy thing where Bernie's holding his hand up for the teacher to call on him, like throughout the entire debate. Call on me, teacher. And then Tom Steyer, by the way, when he talks, he first of all, he has a fake smile at the beginning because I guess somebody told him, hey, Tom, smile a little bit. So he puts on this fake, stupid-looking smile, and then he goes right back into his dour look, and then he rolls his head in a circle as he talks. And it's clockwise, and he's rolling his head in a circle as he talks, and I'm watching him. Whoa! If I had the time, I would have made an animated GIF, but I didn't. So I was too busy collecting Amy's clips. Now here's Amy. I got two more clips from her. Amy and the Cloakroom is the first.
And I will never forget going to Crawfordsville here in Iowa, and thank you for bringing up Iowa, Brianne, since that is where we are. And I went to this plant, and there was one worker left in that plant. That plant had been shut down because of Donald Trump's trade policies and because of what he had done to those workers with giving secret waivers to oil companies and ruining the renewable fuel standard. That worker brought out a coat rack of uniforms, and he said, "These are my friends. They don't work here anymore." And their names were embroidered on those uniforms. Derek, Mark, Salvador. And that guy started to cry. These are real people hurt by Donald Trump's trade war.
Well, now this is what I believe this to be is something that never works on television. But we're in Iowa, everyone's going to Iowa places. You know, this is a pretty big firm. So she wants to localize it for the crowd there, and you can usually people do it with an applause moment. Instead, she did it with a tearjerker, and then so they had he brought out the cloak from the cloakroom, brought out his workers who have been terminated, poof, into clear air. They're gone. So it's a localized thing, and it always comes across weird on the national level on television.
Yeah, I'd say. She sounded like a psycho. So the best one.
I'm going to push back. She didn't sound like a psycho. I like Amy. Man.
And then the best one here's Amy talking about one of her friends whose name she can't remember. This is the big gaffe.
Klobuchar.
Thank you.
Senator Klobuchar, what do you say to
Thank
people
you, Elizabeth.
Senator Klobuchar, what do you say?
I would like
Senator
to point
Klobuchar, let me finish my question.
Oh, okay.
What do you say to people who
I thought it was such an open end. I wasn't at the meeting, so I can't comment, but I was going to say.
What do you say to people who say that a woman can't win this election?
I hear that. People have said it. That's why I've addressed it from this stage. I point out that you don't have to be the tallest person in the room. James Madison was 5'4". You don't have to be the skinniest person in the room. You don't have to be the loudest person. You have to be competent. And when you look at the facts, Michigan has a woman governor right now, and she beat a Republican, Gretchen Whitmer. Kansas has a woman governor right now, and she beat Chris Kobach. And her name is, I'm very proud to know her, and her name is Governor Kelly. Thank you.
I don't know why. I just felt like that was the right clip to play. Her name is, but what she's
good. I'm proud to know her name. Her name is, and then she mumbled kind of a low voice, Kelly.
But now here's what I liked about this. She's basically saying, look at me. I'm short. I'm not, your typical body type model television star, but I'm competent. And of course, everything she said there got lost because she couldn't remember her best friend's name. But it's a tactic that I think we should keep our eye on. I don't think any of these people should be the president, but keep your eye on her. She's got something going.
And by the way,
she's got something going.
She has her lipstick on like it's a big square block of lipstick. So she sits there and she looks like she looks like a kind of a Nick Parks character, Wallace and Gromit. It's just this funny look. I mean, she's great. She doesn't have a smile. She can barely smile. It's always kind of downward smile. She's grimacing.
I think Hillary needs to swoop in because we've got nothing on the stage. Nothing.
It's what it looks like.
Whoa, man. She better hurry. Tick tock, tick tock.
Well, they've already given it to Joe.
Yeah, you keep saying that, but I'm not so sure about that.
Well, I would hope not. I'm not. I'm only saying it from what I'm observing. I'm not saying because I want Joe, even though it will be funny, and it will give me the opportunity to pick a vice president.
Okay, but hold on. So we do have a shift here. A couple of things are happening. Bernie still has the absolute numbers. He's got crowds. He's got the Bernie supporters. That's a big amount of people. We don't really know it. We don't really see it because it's obfuscated.
They won't show it.
No, it's just like in 2016, CNN now, now we have a whole faction of Bernie bros, but it's not just bros, although the guys that Project Veritas highlighted were obviously bros. Hey, man, Milwaukee will burn. Okay, fine. All right, Bernie, bro. All right, settle down. Settle down, son. Settle down. But there, it is a very animated base of people, and they now also hate CNN. Now, this is an interesting thing because Bernie won't get the nomination, although that's the one America deserves. We deserve to say, okay, here are your choices. Socialism, capitalism. That would be the election to have.
And I agree with that.
And I think that would be fair, and that's what we deserve. But it's not going to...
Milwaukee will burn if he doesn't win.
Yeah, fine. That is not going to happen, but CNN will, has double the amount of haters now. Well, not double, but there's a substantial amount who hate CNN specifically because of Trump. And now there's a big bunch of people who hate CNN because of Bernie. So if there's some other schmuck on the Democratic side, who do you think the Bernies are going to go to? I think a lot of them will defect to the anti-media guy.
Who's the anti-media guy?
Trump!
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought you meant you were suggesting a Democrat.
No, Trump. If they have to choose between, I don't know, Hillary.
That's what happened last time, because my daughter in 2016 was going to vote for Bernie, like all the kids, all the millennials.
Yeah.
I don't think she would anymore, but she was going to, and a lot of people were. They're all excited about Bernie because he was, his granddad talking to the kids. And once it came out that he was screwed by the Democrats, she voted for Trump. And I think a lot of people already voted for Trump that were Bernie bros.
Well,
they're not, they're not thinking that it's not like the politics are anything similar.
No. But this is not really about politics. It's about
personalities,
personality and stuff. I think I will play this just before the debate. Elizabeth Warren was sitting with a bunch of students.
In the hours before the Democratic presidential debate in Iowa, U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren detailed her latest proposal on how, if elected president, she would forgive federal student loan debt of up to $50,000. She says she can do it her first day in the White House and without Congress.
I'm running for president because I want a government that works for the rest of us.
The U.S. Senator from Massachusetts said she would be able to help about 42 million people with their student debt by using the Department of Education's pre-existing authority, which she says gives the Secretary of Education the power to wipe away loans on its discretion.
No. Anyway, so, that's what people want. That's the biggest selling point for young voters, and I still question if they're really going to show up. But that's what they want. Take that student debt off of my back. Anyone who really shows some serious plan for that, I think, can get a lot of support.
Well, again, will they show up? Probably not.
I don't know. If she was a little more clear, so she says she can do it without Congress. Doubtful. But, okay, so someone needs to analyze that, need to dive into it, and they got to hurry up.
Well, she made it. I think she was on the stage. I think I have one clip of her where she's ranting and raving about all these things she's going to do. Klobuchar said the same thing. As a woman, both of them prefaced it, as a woman president, like the men wouldn't do this, there's a million things I can do, and I'm going to do them all.
I had a question about that. So both Warren and Klobuchar say, well, the president, she should do this. Her prerogative will be this.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be they and them? Let's just be honest about it. Isn't that?
Yeah. This is something I should have caught. Not you, but you did. Considering the way we're supposed to use the language today.
Yep.
You're absolutely correct. We're not supposed to do that.
But
we're supposed to use gender neutral in all circumstances.
Yeah.
And why didn't those two women, the only two women up there, the only two that use gender specific, you can say I.
Yep.
But you can't. But if you're going to say we, she should, it should be they. You're right. Absolutely correct. I'm kudos to you. I'd give you a clip of the day for catching that if there was a clip to give you a clip of the day for clipping.
Instead, let's just stop right there. I'd like you to change networks because you're squelching every 10 seconds.
I might be on your site because I'm on the good network, but I'll go to the other network. I'm on the good network.
You're on the good network?
Yeah. Why don't you call me? How about that for an idea? Let's start with that idea.
Okay, I'll call you.
Shorter.
Okay. How would you rate the quality of this call? 2 stars. 2 stars. Okay. Hello. Okay. Let's see where we were.
For catching that, if there was a clip to give you a clip of the day for clipping.
And
woodchuck
wood.
And
pick it up.
And a woodchuck could chuck wood. It's actually worth an essay, to be honest about it, that gaffe of theirs.
Well,
but they both did it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just small things like that, but
it wasn't. It was actually, not you mentioned, it's a major thing. Well, I do have. Let's play this. This is Warren on drug pricing. This is what Warren's going to do. She goes on and on. This is the debate. Warren on drug pricing.
Long answer.
Why does it make sense for the government to manufacture drugs, especially when public trust in government is near historic lows?
So let's do this both ways. What I also have said is I'm just going to use the power that is available, and I will do what a president can do all by herself on the very first day, and that is lower the prices of certain prescription drugs. I will lower the price of insulin. We already have the legal authority with the president to do that. President just hasn't picked up and used it. I will lower the price of EpiPens, of HIV/AIDS drugs. That's going to bring a lot of relief to a lot of families immediately. But there are a whole lot of drugs, about 90% of drugs, that are not under patent. They're generic drugs. But the drug industry has figured out how to manipulate this industry to keep jerking the prices up and up and up. So my view is, let's give them a little competition.
There was an interesting article that, here we go, Sky News. Boris Johnson, opening it here, Boris Johnson vows to, quote, get those waiting lists down after worst NHS figures ever. So just to give you an idea, the oh-so-heralded National Health Service, the United Kingdom, which is the best in the world. Why would you want to live in America? That's crazy. Official data showed only 81.4% of emergency patients in England were seen within 4 hours. So that's the emergency room. 4-hour wait.
How much of an emergency?
It's A&E. It's the accident and emergency. And
yeah, you'd be dead in 4 hours if it was an emergency.
Well, last year, 1 in 4 patients had to wait more than 2 months for the start of their chemotherapy. That's what happens when you let the government run stuff.
What is the point of that?
No, it's because it's inefficient. That my point is.
Well, there's something inefficient about it, because if you're prescribed chemotherapy, I mean, you first of all you have to know you're going to get chemotherapy. Then you have to wait 2 months.
Yeah,
what's the wait for?
John,
what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the drugs?
Why don't you go? No, because the system cannot process you faster than that. It is just the system. It is a government-managed healthcare system,
because it's a
like
bunch of guys
Medicare for all. No, it's fine. You pay £5 for your visit or your medication. That's it. Everything else is free, but you have to wait. So I'm just pointing out that nothing is perfect. No system is perfect. And Medicare for all certainly won't be either. And that's what she's selling. That's why I bring this up.
Yeah, she's a big promoter of it.
Well, they all are. They all are. They're all promoting it. All right, we done with the debate?
It's because Bernie got a lot of... We have to remember this. We have to keep reminding ourselves that in 2016, Bernie got a lot of momentum with a number of messages to stop the tuition, the student loan debt, to get Medicare for all. There's a number of initiatives, and everybody, because he got so much traction, as opposed to Hillary, which was let's help the banks.
John, they said who thinks illegal immigrants should have health care? They all raised their hand. Come on.
I know that was the classic.
Yeah. So
what a blunder. That was such a blunder that the DNC, if you remember, we have to go back to the first debates.
Not allowed to do that anymore.
Question, how many here think that illegal immigrants should have free health care? And they all raised their hands. And then it was like, wait a minute, if everyone in the world can get free health care, in other words, all you have to do is fly to the United States on anything and just get free health care, every dying cancer patient in the world would flock here because it's free.
Yeah, and then the DNC said, okay, you're not allowed to ask questions anymore where people raise their hand. So those questions are outlawed.
Yeah. Exactly.
But the whole
thing. For good reason. That was an embarrassment. That gave away the whole Democratic Party. Watch how many people want to open borders? We don't even need borders. Yeah, I'll raise my hand because Bernie raised his.
Yeah. All right. Are we done with the debate? Because it's taken up too much of our time. There's a lot going on.
I just have one last thing, which is Biden. This is not from the debate, but it's a Biden clip. Because out of the Biden clip, I took an ISO. So here's the Biden, come on, man.
You and this president. But everybody knows who this guy is. Come on, man. Come on, man. I'm looking forward to this, man. Come here, man. Hey, man.
I'll tell you, but before I tell you that, let me tell you something else.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the wrong one. No, that was the wrong
one. Now we can play the Biden, come on, man, ISO.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Come on, man.
Now, was this really in the debate?
But everybody knows who this guy is. Come on, man.
No. This was not in the debate.
I'm looking forward to this, man. Come here, man. Hey, man.
That's edited. Did you edit that?
It's somebody put it together.
Oh, okay. Well, let me just hear that again.
Come on, man.
I think that sounds pretty good.
No, I think this is better, ISO. It's just better. It's just better. So far, that's the end of show ISO. Okay, before we do other stuff, I'd like to go into Venezuela.
Wait. Before we go to that, I got one more Biden thing. Again, not the debates, but just an ISO possibility.
Okay.
This is in some situation where Biden is talking to in some speech, and he says, tell me you're not hearing crackpot, which would be you, or cocaine.
Crack powder cocaine. Crack powder cocaine.
Crack. Oh, I know what he's saying. Crack or powder cocaine is what he's saying.
Crack powder cocaine.
No, he's saying crack powder or cocaine.
Crack powder cocaine.
Crack powder cocaine. I don't know. Look, he should ask his son. Sorry, that was kind of mean. That was kind of mean. Okay.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Done.
Thank you for that wrap up. That was pretty good. We had some. That's basically what you didn't miss. Or what you might have missed. That was the best of it. The best of the best. We saved everybody some time.
Nothing.
We saved everybody some time. So on the last show, we discovered that even though there is a new president of the ensemble or whatever they call it in Venezuela, and Guaido is effectively, his term ended. He was not reelected. He faked trying to get into parliament by jumping over the fence, even though the official said you just could have come in the front door. Then he had a phony swearing-in ceremony as if he's still in charge. We looked at the headlines, Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all of them saying, oh, Guaido, still in power, still rocking and rolling, which is literally not true because now it is another one of our shills who's in there. I forget his name, but he was another CIA. I think that's even in his title. Ex-CIA guy. Hi, I'm here to run the country. Elliot Abrams, who is the special envoy to Venezuela, did a press conference at the State Department. And what he says in this minute clip is mind-blowing. So we clearly have an agenda to, I don't know what exactly we want to do, but we'd like to have some form of control over the Venezuelan government. Our Obama lookalike Guaido was supposed to be the guy. He never caught any traction, never really did it, just couldn't make it happen. No one supports him. And honestly, the guy's kind of goofy. So he's not the guy. But man, do we have the resources. Elliot Abrams was asked by a reporter, so tell me about the resources. Tell me exactly what you're doing with the money. And tell me about this money.
Congress has voted a fair amount of money to help the Democratic opposition in Venezuela, and we will be thinking.
So just to be clear, our Congress approved our money, our tax money, to support the Democratic opposition in Venezuela. Already I'm a little irked because, hey, we can use that money for something else. But, okay, if it's really that important.
A lot of oil there, you know.
Yeah, yeah, sure. If it's that important, man, you are a warmonger, aren't you? A lot of oil money. Who gives a shit? We have enough. We don't need oil. And we don't need the oil money. We can just print our own money. That's what we do. So anyway.
Yeah, we need oil not for the money. We don't need oil for money. We need oil because we're a petroleum economy that people don't want to, you know.
We have enough for our own oil. It's just, look, South America needs
to have enough oil, man.
South America needs to be controlled. It's obvious for obvious reasons. And let's listen again how our Congress voted for this to be done and who's doing it.
In Venezuela. And we will be thinking of ways to use those funds and to try to get other countries to give political support, diplomatic support, financial support to the forces of freedom in Venezuela.
Okay. The forces of freedom in Venezuela, I just love the terms. He literally said, we got to think of ways to spend that money, which leads me to believe Congress didn't appropriate it properly because they just said, oh, Elliot Abrams, here, have this money. Go do what you want.
How much money and what is that being used for currently?
I'm a little reluctant to go into detail on that because I don't remember the exact numbers, the final number. But we have done an agreement with the legitimate government of Venezuela.
The legitimate government. So what we've done an agreement with the legitimate government, he means Guaido by that. He doesn't mean Maduro or the other guy. No, the legitimate government, basically, we're giving our money to our boots on the ground.
But we have done an agreement with the legitimate government of Venezuela, a development agreement, and we are able to do things to help, for example, the free press in Venezuela, to help people.
The free press, John. We need to help the free press. That wouldn't be propaganda or anything, would it? No, it's the free press, people.
To help, for example, the free press in Venezuela, to help people keep publishing. And
help people keep publishing? Is there some kind of moratorium on websites in Venezuela? Apparently.
Free press in Venezuela to help people keep publishing and to keep broadcasting. We have some funds that we can use for the National Assembly.
Some friends.
There are a variety of things. This is all being done through, or not all, mostly being done through AID, but also the Democracy and Human Rights Bureau here at State.
USAID and a new one, the Democracy and Human Rights Bureau, which is also
a new one. You must have looked it up.
Oh, yes, I did. This is our exit strategy. All we need is to write one good grant. This is it literally says opportunities. Here's one. Requests for statements of interest, China programs. So the Bureau of Human Rights, of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor, which is a part of the State Department, announces a request for statements of interest from organizations interested in submitting statements of interest for programs that protect and promote human rights in China. I think we qualify. If not, we could make a sub-podcast that does. We
could do that.
The program concept should demonstrate ability to improve rights awareness and access to justice for Chinese citizens, strengthen and institutionalize citizen participation in government, promote government information transparency, blah, 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 blah. The numbers they have available for 2020... I'm just scrolling down because it's a very long thing. 700. They have one grant for $750,000 and one for $1.5 million. John, we're crazy if we don't go after some of this. That's just the China one. We could grab any one of these.
More.
This is a propaganda bonanza. I love these guys. And Congress just gives them the money.
Here you go.
Yeah. This is a very interesting outfit. So that's what your money's going towards, podcasters in Venezuela. Way to go, Congress. Very, very proud of the work you're doing.
Wow.
I know.
It's Abrams. That guy's the best.
I like how he said, well, I don't know exactly, but, No.
I know, I'm reluctant to say the numbers. But what he really meant was, God, if they heard these numbers,
it's so huge.
Shoot me now.
But there's just one program for China. One. And a collective $2.5 million available. Come on.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Well, we should seriously consider getting some of that money. It's just out there for the takings. It's some other podcaster's going to get it.
I agree. We should do it. We'll do it this week.
Going to get it. Okay, let me do this next perfect piece of information because we had another split screen moment. The next day, we had the president announcing phase 1. Sorry. Phase 1 of the China deal. At the same time, Nancy Pelosi transmitting articles of impeachment to the Senate, which fantastically enough, literally consisted of the impeachment managers in some kind of procession, like a funeral procession, lockstep, walking across the hall with a lady in front holding the articles of impeachment as if it was a gift, like a scepter that she is handing over.
Very British.
I mean, is this even a thing? Has it always been done this way, where we have a procession that marches across the hall? No, probably not.
I think it may have been something similar during the Clinton thing, but the Nixon never happened, so you have to go back to Andrew Johnson, and that was like...
Yeah, who knows what happened?
I doubt it.
So there are a couple of things that happened of note that I have some clips for. So what she was really trying to do, old Dame Nancy here, was make this into some kind of historical moment. And I don't know if that's for her personally, or that this will be her legacy as she impeached a president. But she compared this moment to several historical events in our history, and she didn't really have a hook, but she wanted you to remember this date and this time, well, not this date, but the December date when the President of the United States was impeached, and that's forever.
As I've said, it's always been our founders when they started, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary, when. Abraham Lincoln 7 years ago. Thomas Paine, these are the times that try men's souls, the times that found us. Again and again, even our poets, Longfellow. Remember, listen, my children, and you will hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere on the 18th of April in 75. Hardly a man is now alive that remembers that famous day and year. It's always about marking history using time. On December 18th, the House of Representatives impeached the President of the United States. An impeachment that will last forever.
So apparently what she wants is some nursery rhyme or some little jig that will talk about Nancy Pelosi, the great Nancy, who impeached the president on December 18th, that school children will recite in the future.
She left out Tinkers to Evans to Chance. This is the only thing that she kind of missed the boat on. A very famous baseball poem.
Well, but she was talking about more political type country stuff, not about baseball. However, this moment will be remembered, and it will be remembered for something she did. And I think it will go down in history. And someone has to make a jig about this or some kind of song. I'm looking at you, Chris Wilson. At the end, she did something very typical that we've seen happen certainly all throughout Obama, and I'm sure it's happened forever, but our show really didn't start until Obama was elected, and that is the signing ceremony where you sign three dots of your name with one pen, you switch it out, get another pen, switch it out, get another pen, so that you have all of these historic pens that were used to sign this historic document. And she did this for this impeachment, for these impeachment articles. And not only did she sign with each of these pens, she was handing them out to everybody on stage, to the impeachment managers, and they're all taking pictures with their pens. It was so disgusting pathetic that even CNN couldn't handle it.
We are used to seeing signing ceremonies, handing out pens at moments of celebration, when a president is signing legislation, when even sometimes, in a rare occasion, but it has happened, when the House sends over a landmark piece of legislation. It was unusual to see that kind of ceremony and making, handing out the pens and smiling for a picture in this kind of situation where the House Speaker has bent over backwards to say publicly and privately, this is somber, this is not a time for a celebration. Understandable, this is history, and the people who are involved want to mark the moment.
They want their pens.
I didn't expect to see that.
Yeah, I thought that was a little jarring, and certainly, I think, off message, because you heard Nancy Pelosi there say, in fact, that this was a sad and tragic day, and then there she is holding up the pen and having photographs taken with those pens. So, yeah, I think it was a little off message for someone who has tried to set a very serious tone, and here she is posing for photographs with a pen. So probably not the best.
Committee chairman and the House managers, they'll have those pens for the rest of their lives.
Yes, Brolf, the rest of their lives. It's such a treasure to have.
Brother.
That really, I mean, that was really pretty lame.
There's a better word for it than that. It's sick.
Yeah.
Does the pens have some? Are they specially printed on the side of each pen?
Of course. They come with this. You get a certificate. They send you the box later with a certificate of authenticity. Oh yeah. And by the way, that's your money too.
Yeah, that's not cheap to customize pens. Every single. No. I mean, because it's not like they're customizing 10,000 at a penny a piece.
No, these are not penny a piece pens either. I think these are nice Tiffany pens or something.
Well, Tiffany, probably not Tiffany.
Why not?
Anyway, I don't know. Tiffany even make a pen?
Yes. You've never heard of the Tiffany pen tap?
The Tiffany pen tap?
Yes. This is wow. Maybe it's not a thing anymore. White House? No, the Tiffany pen tap is in a boardroom when everyone's in agreement. They take their Tiffany pens and they all tap on the. You've never heard this phrase?
Never.
Huh. Yeah. So while this was taking place, and we can certainly do more, but I would like to just switch over briefly to the other screen. The president was announcing and subsequently signing with pens his deal with China, which is really one thing and one thing only. I have Mnuchin here to explain it. He was on Lou Dobbs. I cut Lou Dobbs out. Lou Dobbs talks 3 times as much in the interview as Mnuchin. It's unbelievable how boring that guy is.
He likes to talk.
So really what it is we've already leveled out the trade deficit. China has, I think it was already announced that they agreed to acquire $50 billion worth of farm goods from us. I think that was already that was known. It's probably baked into all the numbers, and that's over, I believe, a 2-year term. There have been some changes to the forced technology transfer, intellectual property, which really isn't important. As Mnuchin says here, it's all about the accountability.
There's a very detailed dispute resolution process. This is an enforceable agreement, just as the president dictated it would be. There were 2 issues here. One was he wanted to reduce the trade deficit, and 2, he wanted structural changes, particularly around forced technology and other issues. So this is an additional $200 billion, which is very significant. And specifically, and for our farmers, there'll be $40 to $50 billion annually of purchases. So this is a great win for American business and American farmers. And I do think this can be good for China. China has 1.35 billion people. They got a large growing middle class. And if our companies can compete fairly selling things to that middle class, that's a huge growing market for our workers.
I love what he says here, because he starts off by saying, this is a big win for the Chinese people because it's good for our workers. Listen to this nidnook.
They got a large growing middle class. And if our companies can...
Wait, let me go back a little bit here. Where was it?
...business and American farmers. And I do think this can be good for China. China has 1,350,000,000 people. They got a large growing middle class. And if our companies can compete fairly selling things to that middle class, that's a huge growing market for our workers.
I don't see how it benefits China, but okay.
And the agreement is a precondition, if you will, to this phase one to relieve the Chinese of the currency manipulator status that well, actually you penned on them.
Well, the only reason why we changed that is because there's a chapter in this agreement on currencies and foreign exchange. It's fully enforceable. There's very strict commitments that they will not manipulate their currency going forward. And as a result of that, we got comfortable lifting the designation. But like every other part of this agreement, that'll be an enforceable chapter going forward.
So since the mainstream will not pay any attention to this or explain it at all, they'll just go, blah, 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 blah. The phase one is really not that much of a big deal. However, it's an enforceable agreement with triggers so that if China doesn't follow the basic tenets of the agreement, then we can call them out. There's, it'll be very clear, and then we probably start nuking them or something. I don't know. But this is not a very important deal for the details. It's important for the process going forward that we have agreements that we know that people will abide by them. And that's really it. They could have at least...
Well, you can stop. Don't start saying going forward. He said it too many times already.
Oh, well, exactly, because there's nothing. There's really nothing in there. The only thing is it sets the ground rules so that, I guess in modern parlance, we can call them out and, and then reverse everything and pile the sanctions back on, whatever. But I think they want to do a deal. It would make sense. They want to do something.
Well, everybody wants to do something.
Everybody wants to do something.
I don't know what's going to come of this. But it's at least he's giving us some lip service. Nobody else ever did.
Yes.
Time went on forever without anybody even paying any attention to the fact that we're losing all our jobs, that factories are moving overseas, and everyone was making a lot of money except the American worker.
Yes, thank you.
Which is why they voted for Trump.
Yes,
that's why they're going to keep voting for Trump. I don't see the Democrats sucking them back in.
Don't worry, John. You have your spot at the convention. You'll get it. It's fine. We get your message.
I need it.
You got your spot, bro. It's all cool. Now, last night, kind of on the cusp, or yesterday, really it started yesterday, big news breaking. I guess they found extra people and documents just before they transmitted the articles of impeachment. And all of a sudden, Lev Parnas, who used to be Trump's guy, is doing an interview with Rachel Maddow. Oh, this was fun. And I really tried to understand, because, lighten the game for show prep, really trying to understand exactly what is at issue. Apparently, there's a new character, this Floyd guy.
Yeah, this guy worked for Giuliani.
Well, no, that's the Lev Parnas guy. He worked for Giuliani.
Floyd is.
Well, that's important because Floyd is one of these guys who shows up at a lot of Trump events, much like many people, because he donates a lot of money. I think he's donated $55,000 to the America First super PAC, which is where this Lev Parnas guy, he donated $350,000, but he did it through a shell company, which is why he's indicted, and rightfully so, because you can't have foreign money coming in, even though we know how it's done, usually credit cards, and everyone's doing it.
You gotta do it the right way.
So Parnas has WhatsApp messages that have been released. I'm not quite sure if they went through how they've been released or if it's part of the grand jury. And I don't know what it is, but Rachel Maddow has them. And there it's very clear that he's texting with this Floyd character, and the Floyd character is saying stuff like, okay, man, yeah, well, we've got the ambassador in our purview. We see what she's doing. We've got her under surveillance. Okay, she's no longer on her phone. She's turned off her computer. So she's in her house. She's not online. These kinds of messages going back and forth. this was tied back to part of the transcript, if I understand it correctly, from the call with Trump and the president of Ukraine, where Trump says, I'm paraphrasing, well, she's going to go through a lot of trouble herself, referring to the ambassador. And that was in conspiratorial circles taken as, oh my God, he was talking about taking a hit out on her. Then there's this Floyd guy who's surveilling her and knows apparently when her phone is on or when her computer's on, they were trying to take her out. They were trying to kill her. And if you remember, she was called back to the United States because there was a fear for her security. So now all of a sudden we have escalated this corruption by Trump, as alleged, into a hit job by Trump. And then the guy who's under indictment for election campaign contribution fraud, he all of a sudden decides, well, I'm going to be a good guy. I'm going to go talk to Rachel Maddow about everything. And so I had to because she published everything this morning, or maybe late last night online. And this Floyd character is a guy that apparently the Trump Hotel, and this makes total sense, in D.C., it's kind of like the bar from Star Wars. There's a whole bunch of unsavory characters. Everyone's hanging around in the bar, in the lobby. And, D.C. is very much like this anyways. No different from Hollywood. People hang out at the Four Seasons Hotel bar. And hey, I see, hey, it's Bobby De Niro over there. And so you can talk about it. You might bump into him, might say, this is where most of the business is done. It's where all the lobbyists are. And, of course, the Trump Hotel in D.C. has got to be an unbelievable seething pit of Republicans and hangers-on, mainly. That's the thing. So this Floyd guy, he's got money. He's handing it out, so you get invited to stuff, and he's talking to people. And apparently, he now had, through his contacts in Ukraine, had the ambassador under surveillance, and he's texting back and forth with Lev Parnas. And here's Rachel's interview with him, specifically talking about this frightening individual.
Why did those exchanges happen? What was he trying to tell you?
Well, I don't believe it's true. I think he was either drunk or he's was trying to make himself bigger than it was. So I didn't take it seriously, and I was trying to. If you see, I didn't even respond to him most of the time. And if I did, it was like something like LOL or okay or great or something like that, just because I wouldn't respond for a long time, and then I didn't want him to get rowdy if I saw him next time and say, "Oh, why didn't you type a response?" So I would just amuse him until eventually, as you could see, I cut him off.
Well, the texts where he was supposedly reporting on the whereabouts of the ambassador went on for a week. I mean, it wasn't like one drunk night. This went for 7 days. Well, he couldn't have been drunk the whole time.
No, he's drunk all the whole time. he wakes up and he's drunk. He starts at 6. I've never seen him.
This, by the way, is not what Rachel wanted to hear. She did not want to hear the guy is a total lunatic. He's drunk at 6 in the morning until late at night, but we'll continue.
Not drunk.
So you thought that this was him making it up. You didn't believe he actually had the ambassador under surveillance?
No, absolutely not.
I asked Mr. Parnas several times over the course of our interview if those text messages from Robert Hyde indicated a real threat to Ambassador Yovanovitch. I asked him about it as many different angles I could come up with. I was insistent in asking. He was adamant in his response.
This is Rachel covering for herself because what she doesn't want...
This is really bad.
Yeah, what she doesn't want is Twitter exploding and saying, you didn't ask hard enough, you didn't push, you didn't get no follow-up questions, you suck. Something like that. It was totally her covering her ass, and it's honestly,
go down.
Yeah, of course. It was sad. It's sad that she did that. She should have just not aired it at all.
She's not very good at what she does.
And this was not in the studio. This was at, I think, the guy's lawyer's office, so she was a little bit out of her element. But that's how important the story was to her. Because she's like, I can't believe, I thought they were going to kill her. They were going to kill her. It was under surveillance. Now the guy's just a drunk lunatic. Let's hear that again. I asked many different words. I
asked Mr. Parnas several times over the course of our interview if those text messages from Robert Hyde indicated a real threat to Ambassador Yovanovitch. I asked him about...
By the way, I said Floyd, but it's Hyde, so I made a mistake.
As many different angles I could come up with. I was insistent in asking. He was adamant in his response. So it's clear that you didn't take Mr. Hyde seriously in terms of the factual claims that he was making, but are you clear on whether or not there was ever an actual physical threat or a threat of personal intimidation against Ambassador Yovanovitch?
Never from my side or anybody I know.
You didn't worry that she was actually in physical danger?
Never.
Because you didn't believe Mr. Hyde?
No, I didn't believe Mr. Hyde, no.
Okay, so that was kind of a bummer. But the guy did say something which I think rings true and is very plausible.
So after certain instances, Trump was supposed to meet him, President Trump was supposed to meet Zelensky in Poland himself. But then he used the excuse of the hurricane, but it wasn't because of the hurricane, it was because he was angry that Zelensky still didn't make any attempt or effort to make any announcement before he was going to meet him. And he
How do you know that was an excuse and that wasn't the real reason?
Because I spoke to Rudy. Rudy would talk to me. We spoke about this every day. Everything that was going on was discussed between me, Victoria, Rudy, the team.
So President Trump is supposed to go. He decides not to go. Vice President Pence will go instead.
He sends him instead, yeah. And basically, he was supposed to go there and get it straightened out that Zelensky was supposed to make another announcement. And that didn't happen. And that's when Secretary Bolton went over there, and I think he has a lot to say. I'm not going to talk on this, but I think he's a key witness to his conversation with Zelensky and when he came back and why he left or got fired or however you want to look at that.
Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. When Vice President Pence went over there on September 1st, again in President Trump's stead, you believe, or you have reason to believe, that Vice President Pence was tasked at that meeting with getting President Zelensky to announce investigations of Joe Biden specifically.
Yes.
And to tell him that they wouldn't get their aid until they...
I don't know exactly what he was, but it was all... It's all
the investigation.
Yeah. So, like I said, the aid itself was something that I think the president decided to do, but it was, I think, a reaction to that there was no announcement being made after so many attempts and so many promises.
So holding the aid was the president's own sort of innovation to add to the leverage, to add to the pressure that people like you and the vice president and Mr. Giuliani and everybody else involved in this effort was putting on the Ukrainian government.
Right. So Rachel's leading the witness at the end. But the first part, that rings true to me. I think it was Pence's job to go and get an announcement. I think he messed it up. And for that reason alone, maybe, he will not be on the ticket. I'm predicting it right now. He will resign. Someone else is going to be on the vice presidential ticket for Trump. I think he screwed up royally there, especially because it's now coming out.
Well, after those clips, I should reiterate the ban on Rachel Maddow clips.
Yeah,
so unexciting. These clips are boring.
Yeah, but this, we do have to play something.
Let's just take a look at that one issue. Has this guy ever talked to the president? No. Has the guy ever met the president? Doubtful. The guy's a Rudy Giuliani, fixer. And works for Giuliani. I don't know. This seems like it could be just all a lot of thin air to me. I'm not convinced about any of it.
Oh, there's no proof of anything.
That's not a bag man.
No, I think he is a bag man. I think he's the perfect bag man because he doesn't look or act like one. I think he is a bag man. And I think he screwed this one up. And write it down in the book. He won't be on the ticket. He will not be on the ticket. Did you have the book? Are you writing it down in the book? You got a book, a red book? Is it in the book?
Jeez. Let me get a book.
Oh, God.
No, I gave up on the red book some time ago, but I'm going to write this one down in this particular ledger. What is today's date?
Today is the 16th of January, 2020, and while you're doing that, I would like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in the crackpot cocaine, John C. DeVoe.
Yeah, hold on a second while I write this in the book.
You still writing?
Yeah, I'm writing by hand. I got to put details in here.
What day is it?
What day is it? It's the 16th. What do you think? Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning to ships and seaboots, telegraphy in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to our trolls in the troll room, who you can find, and not just find, but join at noagendastream.com. It is where people hang out. It is where they hang out to be with each other, to chat about the shows that are playing. They find shows, listen to shows. Shows are live as they're recorded for podcasts. You can subscribe to shows, and I've made it my mission for 2020. I'm going to upgrade noagendastream.com. I'm very excited. Got a lot of ideas. A lot of people willing to pitch in and help. So, hello, trolls. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for inspiring me. And trolling, noagendastream.com. Also, in the morning to our artist who brought us the artwork for episode 1207. Ooh, is my site down? Oh, my goodness. We're down.
Whoa! Woo!
This is actually problematic. Whoa, that's dangerous. Hold on a second, because we may not be able to... No? Wow, that's really weird. Is it like Amazon? Amazon can't be down.
Sure. Amazon could be down. Could be sabotaged by Microsoft.
NAshownotes.com refusing to connect. Wow. That's weird.
Did you pay your Amazon bill?
Yes. And a hefty one it is at that. It's okay, because we can still say that the title of that episode was Imminent Threat. It's an imminent threat. And the artwork was brought to us by NetNed, as we looked for a number we looked through a number of different pieces of artwork. And this was the Podcasting is Addictive as Cocaine, with the little kid with the Oreos.
Yeah, it was great.
And there really wasn't anything else. I mean, the one we both liked...
No, we had to go to the Evergreens to find that.
No, was that an Evergreen? Yeah, it was an Evergreen.
Yeah.
The one we liked was Cesium 137 did one with a $33 bill with AOC on it, Sandy OC. And we liked that a lot, but he had used such a crappy overlay.
Yeah, he needed to do an original overlay.
Yeah, just had, if he had, I mean, seriously, maybe 15 minutes of extra work would have nailed it, because the idea was good, execution up until, it was just, there's no way we could use it, it wouldn't pop. A lot of Meghan Markle stuff, a lot of obscure jokes, but that was really the best one. Yeah, I don't think there was any other contender, which is why we had to go to Evergreens. But it doesn't matter, because every show is a new opportunity for artists to show off their wares. It's another opportunity for us to get a great piece of art, which we appreciate very much. And you can find all of that or upload your own at noagendaartgenerator.com. And thank you very much, Ned, for helping us with an image that popped. Really made the difference. noagendaartgenerator.com.
And we do have a few people to thank as producers, associate executive producers and executive producers for show 1208. Right?
Yes, so. 1208.
Craig Martin is at the top of the list of Phoenix, Arizona, $500. Hi, John and Adam. The $500 donation puts me over the top for my knighthood. Please knight me as knight north to south.
All right.
Recently moved from Fairbanks, Alaska, north, to Phoenix, south, Arizona. Hence the name North to South. I love your show and never miss an episode. Your show has made me skeptical of virtually everything. Virtually everything I hear on the media, that is.
Yes.
So thanks for that. My life is so much simpler before. Wait.
It's supposed to be an improvement. It's supposed to be an improvement. What are we doing wrong?
Recently, one of my favorite dog's yuck. One of my dog's yuck was diagnosed with bone cancer.
Yeah.
If there was one thing that can beat this, it's her. But I would appreciate dogs are people too, and fuck cancer jingles. I would also like the same. I would like some racehorse karma. Oh, brother.
Racehorse karma?
Yeah, he owns a horse. It's running in. He wants a simpler life. You own a racehorse?
Wow.
It's running the stakes race on Saturday in Santa Anita.
Wow.
Her name is Fast Enough. Let's hope he's first. If this works, just imagine the new revenue for you. We have made a point of not doing karma for football teams.
No, we don't.
Football teams.
No. Now, this is a little different. It's his horse.
In the case of a horse race.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's for the horse's health. I think we should. It'll be allowed, but only if you own the horse.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a new rule.
That's the difference. It's you're rooting for your local team. You don't own the team. It's not any part of your home or business. But if you own the horse, I think it's allowable.
Yes. But we don't have horse karma, so we'll substitute with the side of goat.
Dogs are people too.
You've got karma.
Let us know how it turned out. Sir Kevin McLaughlin, Earl of Luna, 349.97. Jingle request, health and jobs karma for all the producers. Swazant Nuf karma boobs. Thank you, Adam and John, for the. I guess there's a bunch of. I don't know what that is. All that they suggested. Thank you, John and Adam, for the excellent work you do to help our amygdala stay healthy and small. Today's donation of $349.97 is 5 small donations rolled up into one. Boobs 8008, lopsided boobs 8006, small boobs 6006, small lopsided boobs 6008, and Swazant Nuf Karma 6969. Sir Kevin McLaughlin.
Earl of Luna. He loves boobs.
I believe completely in the First Amendment and in boobs.
Then I saw her boobs. Now I'm a believer.
Because I like boobs?
69, dudes.
You've got karma.
I forgot about that clip. That was the Brooke Baldwin show on CNN, I believe.
Yeah, as the guy from the Barstool Sports, I think, isn't it?
I can't remember, but he loves boobs, and she was so offended.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I should find that clip. It's a very funny clip. John Benson, 33333 from Fort Mill, South Carolina. We have a pretty good list today.
Yeah. And
came out after we told him we needed some more help than last time. Hey, John and Adam, after being hit in the mouth a month ago by my friend Richard, I'm finally making a donation to the best podcast in the universe and humbly request de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
I'll be at the Charlotte meetup on Friday. Can't wait. It's like a party. Thanks for all you guys do, and if you have time, please play the following jingles. Pastor Manning, Kellyanne Conway, Money Shot. Alex Jones, Babies Growing in Cows. And 3, can you see the juice?
That's a show enough money shot. Woo, Jesus. Woo, Lord. Look at that. That's a money shot. Kellyanne Conway and a money shot.
Well, I'll admit it, too. I mean, when they're talking about nuking and the president saying fire and fury, I'm kind of running around there, stay around the office. I mean,
Wow, this is the longer clip.
like a chicken, I mean, that's what happened.
We love you for that. I'm going to play this because I don't remember this whole. It's only 20 seconds.
You guys are worse than I am.
For 25 years, I've been born babies and cows.
Oh, my gosh. Can you see that juice?
I don't know if that was me or Jones.
No idea. I never heard it before.
Babies in cows. Well, I thought. I prepped this segment. I tried.
Well, give him his karma.
Oh, did he want a karma?
Well, I would give it to him.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought we were supposed to request karma.
You've got
changing the damn rules.
De-douching.
We gave him the de-douching.
Karma constantly.
John, his name is John Benson. He didn't ask for a de-douching and did. Oh, he did, and we gave him the de-douching.
Yeah.
He didn't ask for karma, and you keep telling me no karma unless requested.
I would like to document that. That is not true. I said no de-douching unless requested. You cannot find a documentation for what you just asserted.
That's possibly true. I may be incorrect.
Julie McNeil's next on the list, along with our big list of executive producers, because we throw out karma all the time.
Hey! I said I may be incorrect. You don't need to rub it in.
Julie McNeil, 33333, St. Gabriel, Louisiana. Nice little town there. Gentlemen. So this is, by the way, I want to point this out. This is one of the problems I'll have with these. When you have these two notes that are both colored, I can see reading into the next one. Gentlemen, I'm closing at 333.33 on behalf of my smoking hot wife, Julie, who's Wait, hold on. Who is this?
Yeah, I'm not talking anymore because, I'll just be called out as wrong.
Julie, this donation is from Julie, but apparently Adam managed to swap it out because it was a donation on her husband making a donation on behalf of his smoking hot wife, Julie, whose birthday's on the 16th.
There you go.
By my calculation, this amount should secure her a spot at the round table.
Nice.
I hit her in the mouth years ago, and normally doesn't do that. I hit her in the mouth years ago, and she has been a fanatical listener ever since. I would like to request the title Dame Julie of Grand Isle, Louisiana, if this is not already taken. Let me look on the list.
I don't think that's taken. No,
it's not on here, so she can have it. I would like to call out our friend John in Lafayette, Louisiana, for being an utter douchebag. Utter douchebag. And I'd like to make a special request that you play for her anything with CNN correspondent Al Sharpton in it.
Well, it's
MSNBC.
MSNBC, yes.
Not CNN. CNN is not that bad. The more, the better. Keep the fantastic work, Julie's husband.
In St. Gabriel, Louisiana. Okay, Shorty.
RESPICT.
And thank you, and we'll see Julie, your smoking hot wife, at the round table later on.
Luke Bixler in Charlotte, North Carolina, also 33333, and also with a complaint. Forgive me, Potfathers, I have sinned. It's been years long listener. I've been a years-long listener of the show, yet this is my first donation, and such I humbly request a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
Insert generic but heartfelt platitudes about amygdala size and relative sanity here. I just ended a career in the military and feels I have absorbed some residual jobs and house karma. As my transition to the private sector was fairly painless, and I feel I made a soft landing, I'd like to return said jobs, the original Nancy, and house karma of the goat variety, if you please, back into the ecosystem. Over the past months, I hit both my pal Randy and my smoking hot girlfriend in the mouth, and would like to call out both, in other words, a double, as douchebags. Douchebag. Looking forward to meeting the fellow Charlotte slaves tomorrow at the meetup.
I think that's today, actually.
Your choice of Sharpton.
Yes, that's actually today, the meetup. Yes, that's the Charlotte today. Hold on a second. And what was the last request? Was a random Sharpton?
Yeah.
But resist, we must, and we will much about that be committed.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Richard Camphouse.
Comphouse.
Oh, Comphouse. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
The P and the H is not an F in Dutch.
Comphouse.
Comphouse means camping house.
Richard Camping House, $333 in Holland. Adam and John, and all listeners to the best podcast in the universe. First off, some Jigo requests. One, de-douching. This is my first time donation.
You've been de-douched.
Jobs karma for myself. Goat karma for my smoking hot Swiss wife, Karen, who has to finish a couple of essays before a deadline on the 20th of January. Shit. High school kid? What is the deal?
A smoking hot wife, he says.
A smoking hot wife. Has to finish a couple of essays. Maybe she's an essayist.
Well, you write essays. You're just not a smoking hot wife.
I'm an essayist.
Yeah, but you're
I'll
not
send
smoking
War
hot.
and Peace via John@Dvorak.org.
Yes, please do that. We all would appreciate that. Here you go with your jobs.
Jobs,
karma.
Jobs, jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Woo! Good go.
Samuel Lichtenstein in New York City. 333. No jingles, no karma.
Thank you, Samuel.
Nicholas Miller in Tucker, Georgia. 333. We have a big list today. Charter boat karma. just got my license going back to BVI, Tortola. That's a British Virgin Isles. Okay. To get my catamaran stamp. He wants a big donation, bro.
Hey, bro. Receive, bro.
He's got to go out on his catamaran baked.
Yeah,
You've got karma.
It's the best way to go on a catamaran is baked. Are you kidding me?
Gerald Poppy, meanwhile, from Parts Unknown, $250. And he's our first associate executive producer. Another donation from Dr. for my beautiful wife, Allison, and daughter, Lynette, who are very attractive listeners. Oh, I'm sorry, attentive. We all appreciate the insightful analysis of the political quagmire. It sounded like donations have been slow. Yes. And we want to keep the show going. How about giving us a Don't Eat Me Joe Biden and a few other good sound effects? They're all funny. Keep up the good work.
Don't eat me, Bo Jordan. You're scary. So scary.
Was that what she wanted?
I hope so. They're all funny.
It was all a bunch of. It's just sound effects. Didn't say jingles. It's sound effects. So I gave sound effects.
Yeah, sound effect is what you did.
Yes, I found the clip. I found the clip wheel again. It's for your for our clip blitz.
Colin Preston, 22260. No jingles, no karma. Thank you. Sir Uncle Bob, and somewhere in the APO box number.
Military.
22222. What's the difference between APO and DPO?
Ooh, I don't know.
Well, someone in this chat room might know.
APO versus DPO. That's a very good question. I've only seen APO, really. Have you ever seen a DPO? Is it Defense Post Office? Or what is the A?
Army Post Office, I think.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Oh, or something. Anyway, he says it's been a long time since the last donation has been floating around sub-Saharan Africa for the last 18 months due to a job reassignment. I've managed to keep up with the best podcast in the universe, though, and it keeps getting better. A few observations from having visited 10 different countries since arrival on continent. Maybe it should be CPO.
On continent? Is he off-world?
Here he goes. The Chinese are taking over Africa, and your analysis is pretty much spot on. Of course, we put that in the show, I think, about 8-9 years ago.
Easily.
Yeah, easily. It was one of the first things we did.
Yeah, it's like, hey, just so you know, China's taking over Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems to be still going on. A loan is granted, say for the this is what we've discussed 10 years ago. A loan is granted, say for the building of an airport, as in the case of Lusaka. A Chinese construction company is then hired, which sends the loan money right back to China. And then when the African country inevitably defaults on the loan, boom, China ends up with the collateral, which is often money. This is an American style of economic hitman. Read the book, Economic Hitman by John
Perkins.
Perkins. Read the original edition. Don't read the update. Collaterals, the mining rights or share of the ownership, state-owned. It's actually more than that. There's a lot. This is more complicated than this, but he notices it's a scam. The absolute most disgusting thing I've seen in my life was a Mopani worm in Zimbabwe. It's a thick caterpillar of the emperor moth, and it's supposedly a delicacy in this part of the world. A very chewy exterior with a thick and gooey interior that's too large to swallow whole.
Nice.
Which means you have no chance but to chew it and chew it and chew it some more.
With the goo,
close to vomiting on my boat, and I've eaten some really disgusting things in my life. With that, would you please do I like bugs, followed by can you see the juice, and then give all the producers a big shot of goat karma and good health and safe travels for 2020. Also, some photos of Chinese imperialism in Africa might be helpful. You think so? Yes, please send us some. I could try and send as few as they are very interesting, and almost I could try to send a few. He says as few. I'm sorry, it's hard to read.
You know, you're getting up there with the Joe Biden territory. We might not want to make fun of people anymore.
Yeah, I might. Finally, I'm thinking of a meetup in Zambia. The DRC or Addis Ababa. What are your thoughts? Yeah. Would you two attend?
No.
Love and light, Sir Uncle Bob of the unincorporated Default County, Georgia, or DeKalb County, DeKalb. And then he's got a photo, which I don't have.
I like Default County better.
I like Default
County. Thank you very much, Sir Uncle Bob. A minor war and peace, but it's appreciated. Here's what you requested, sir.
We eat bugs. You eat
Oh, that's not the right one.
Nothing like freshly caught bugs.
What the hell is that?
Ooh, thanks. I love bugs.
That's the wrong one.
You're on a roll.
No, what do you mean I'm on a roll? I've done everything beautifully, except for that one. Yeah, what is the, but which, I love bugs. Bugs. Maybe it's this one? No? Well, this is, oh, I see the problem. I got it. Here we go.
I love bugs.
Tastes like poop.
Oh my gosh. Can you see that juice?
You've got karma.
I'm kind of still baffled by he says he attached a photo, but this is a PayPal.
This comes from his email note, and I saw the photo, but it's not interesting enough to discuss. That's why I just moved on.
Baron Chris Spears, we'll move on to him. He's right down the street from you in Austin,
That's right.
Texas, doing it $22. I want to thank you for your courage and some long overdue value your way. I would assume an appropriate dedouching is in order. I wish both of you a belated Merry New Year. Thanks for continuing to put out an outstanding product. Baron Chris.
And we'll give him the requested dedouching.
You've been dedouched.
The guy's a baron. Why would he ever need a dedouching?
Well, if
Sir
that's
Dave,
what he wants.
Earl of America's Heartland in Saudi Arabia. Dave Fugazotto.
There he is.
2020. Step up and chip in, you freeloading douchebags.
You know, it's funny Dave says that. I signed up for MoveOn.org. Somehow they got my phone number and they texted me. So, I do this for the show, obviously, and they said, would you like to receive alerts from MoveOn? I said, yeah, I'll receive some alerts from MoveOn. Let me read the first alert. Just so you know where these people are coming from. MoveOn.org. John, what is the genesis of MoveOn.org again?
MoveOn.org began as a software company in Berkeley called Berkeley Systems, and they're the ones that did the flying toaster screensaver. Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
Well, this is during the Clinton impeachment, and the owners of the company got a hair up their ass. They were pissed off about this being a thing. And so they started this organization called MoveOn.org, referring specifically to the impeachment and how we should move on from the impeachment. And so they took their company, which was specializing at the time in creating screen readers for the blind. And they morphed it into this MoveOn.org, and so I don't know what happened to the rest of the operation.
But the idea was to move on from the impeachment. Move on, everybody.
That's why it has such a crazy name. That's what it means. Move on.
Here, Move On alert. Speaker Pelosi will send impeachment articles to Senate today. All uppercase. Trump's trial starts next week. We're running billboards and have organizers on the ground in key states driving calls to the Senate and prepping for another mass mobilization. Chip in $5? So if that tells you where they're coming from and who's behind that stuff, I think you know. Yeah. So even MoveOn.org is using chip in, which is why it's lovely when our peerage uses it mockingly.
Chip in,
you freeloading douchebags, which is what MoveOn.org would love if they could write that. Just stop for a second and appreciate the transparency and honesty of this group we are.
Yes, I'll reread Dave Fugazotto's note. Step up and chip in, you freeloading douchebags.
See, that's what everyone would like to say, but apparently they can't because they're not a family like us.
Well,
Leave it. Move on.
Phil in Annapolis, Maryland, $203.33. We have a good list today.
Yeah.
Hey, now. I was hit in the mouth a few weeks ago while reading the comments of a PC Magazine article. Please accept this humble first-time donation. Request a de-douching.
From Phil in Annapolis.
You've been de-douched.
I wonder what you read. Daniel Mariano, $200, parts unknown. Jingles, Huntsman Chinese, and that's true. If I can get a goat karma, it'd be great. A friend hit me in the mouth a while ago, and I've been a loyal listener since the 900s. Adam.
Yes.
I only remember you as the cool guy with the hair during your MTV years and didn't really follow your career after that. John, I've been a fan since your Tech TV days. You are tied with Patrick Norton as my third favorite personality behind Sumi Das and Erica Hill for obvious reasons.
We're number 3.
We're number 3. Anyways, keep up the great work.
And what do you want? You want a Huntsman and a karma, a regular or goat?
You wanted a, that's true if I get a goat karma, yeah.
Oh, I thought he wanted Huntsman.
Yeah, he said Huntsman, Chinese, and that's true. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. That's true. Let me grab that one. And a regular or goat?
Goat.
That's true. You've got karma.
So Huntsman's daughter, who is on The View, quit.
Oh, really?
She's gonna work full time for now. There's gonna be back to just one conservative. Then now she's gonna work full time for her dad, who's gonna be running for governor of Utah.
Ah, you must be sad because it's ruined your viewing experience.
I never watched The View. It's hard to watch.
Yeah,
I don't like anybody on the show.
Okay.
Tony, I do. The other shows that are out there is the Talk, which is kind of artificial version of The View. It's not quite as good. It's not quite as lively.
Yeah.
And then the one that's probably the best of the group is The Real.
Yes, the word
all ethnic. There's not a white person on that show.
Ethnic, really? Lonnie Love, ethnic. Okay,
it's all ethnic.
It's called black. They're not ethnic.
No, they're not. No, there's 2 women are Asian. They're not black.
Oh.
And I think one of Mexican, one may be Hispanic. I think there's a Hispanic.
Oh, no.
There's maybe 2 Asians and maybe 1 or 2 blacks max.
So why do you say ethnic?
Because it's the only way to describe all these.
How about a bunch of women?
It's a bunch of ethnic women. There's no whites, is what I want to say.
Okay. But ethnic is, I don't know, I think it's just not right.
I don't know. I think I am right. I think it's a good use.
Which means they have ethnic. But if you're Black American, you're not ethnic. You're black. If it matters. I know. I just thought that was interesting.
Go ahead, dig away.
I'm digging a grave for you, my friend. I'm just trying to protect you.
I don't think so. Tony Santos, Knight of South Jersey, meanwhile, could be protecting us because he donated $200. Adam and John, thanks for the twice weekly dose of reality. Can I get a John? What? Can you believe this? Can I get a John Huntsman Chinese and China is asshole clips?
No.
We never had we never had a John Huntsman clip for years.
It is very rare. Very rare. That's interesting.
Yeah. Random number. I'm looking for jobs karma. I'm having a hard time with my current job as a dude named Ben and might jump ship to the family business. Love and light. Tony Santos, king of South Jersey.
Okay, so now...
Night.
So Huntsman... okay, here we go.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
And the jobs karma, sorry.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
That's funny.
Karma.
Yeah, we might as well do the podcast or the anti-Chinese podcast because we're not going to get a visa anyway. Keep playing that clip.
Well, I think we're doing exactly what the State Department would want.
Well, they should be paying us to play that clip.
Yes, every time we play that combo.
I have no idea why that clip is so inherently funny.
Yeah,
play it again, please.
Okay, well, I just got rid of it. Hold on. Easy to find again. Huntsman. Here we go.
No, I went to China is asshole.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an easy one. I thought, well, maybe it's the combo.
No, it's one I think is just inherently funny.
Yes.
Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is asshole.
Didn't you laugh?
It's great.
But why?
Well,
Sir Keg of the Shri, what? Sir Keg of the S ring, $200. Making up for times I thought about donating but never got around to it. Jingle requests, Reverend L's, Dealer's Choice, and Sir Keg of the S ring string.
Okay.
RESPICT.
People think we have like some huge library of Sharpton stuff, but really we have about 4 that are a minute and a half long. So when people say, hey, throw a random in there, it's like, I don't really want to use a minute and a half. That's why I resort to the Respect often. Or
that, ladies and gentlemen, is Adam trying to tell you, quit asking for nothing but Sharpton clips. We got plenty of other things.
Thank you.
Adam Barrett, meanwhile, comes in with the best donation of $200 and says, and finishes it off with NJNK. So we end with that, and we want to thank him for that courtesy.
Fantastic list. Thank you so much. We needed that. We need to make up for low numbers in the past. Was it 3 shows? 2 shows? 3 shows since the beginning of the year?
The whole this year.
Yeah. All of this. It's interesting because people don't understand, or maybe we should just talk. I'd like to talk about it briefly. The newsletter is important because it reminds people that there is a show. And the reminder is also a reminder to support the show. I mean, and of course, it's also a preview of what's coming up. Sometimes we do, or I say, John, you do more of an essay. You put, like a lot of research and content in there, which always results in very low donations. It's true. It's just true.
Absolutely true.
So when and this is part of our system, is reminding you that, and believe me, we know how busy people are. Just because a tweet goes out doesn't necessarily mean that you will go listen to the show. No, we like people to remember the day before there's a show coming. And please support the show. It's a very simple ask. But when MailChimp or whatever provider we're using doesn't deliver, that hurts us directly. What's been interesting is there's an ongoing conversation, certainly on noagendasocial.com, about alternative methods to deliver this newsletter. And I just wanted people to understand that no, just emailing out a link to a web page where the newsletter can be viewed will not work and will not result in what we want it to. And it's very hard. People don't understand it when I say this.
Well, it's because it sounds like a good idea. If you actually don't work in the field,
here's the assumption. Yes, that's why I wanted you to discuss it. Here's the assumption. Quote, we don't like HTML embedded emails anyway, who does? John, please explain.
What am I supposed to explain? I don't understand why nobody. I like HTML mails,
but also go ahead.
Well, there's a number of things. There's a number of issues here with HTML mail. This is the old school. Old school doesn't like HTML mail because it's kind of messy compared to just a good text mail you just get. And by the way, the text mails always get through, so I do text every once in a while to remind people there's a mail somewhere. And I could put a link in there to maybe a page in that regard. But generally speaking, you can't do anything interesting with just text mail. You can't.
Well, please explain. Please explain the results. The result is people just don't respond as well to it.
They never respond to it. I mean, I can send out a bunch of texts. I could do a seminar on this, and I probably will eventually.
Yes, thank you. Exactly.
It's rather interesting because people don't understand how these mechanisms work. I just coincidentally, as a writer, early on in my career, took a lot of direct marketing seminars in New York with the DMA, the Direct Marketing Association, who gave these seminars, and they were done by some very famous people. And I learned a lot of stuff then. But over time, I've done a lot of research, thanks to my son, Buzzkill Jr., he dug up all the church mechanisms and how the churches operate and what they do to get people to help. And it's a lot different. In fact, some of it's contradictory to the standard direct marketing approaches. And so I've kind of combined the two ideas. And that's why sometimes occasionally I'll do something that is very effective. But a pro in the family, namely Adam's wife, will look at some of these things and say, "Oh my God, you guys are going to be doomed." Yeah. And because she's trained traditionally, and I have, as it were, cross training, and the cross training, which also refers to the cross, is different, and it results in different responses, and it's complicated. And the point is that it requires doing things in HTML. Hello, yeah. That's, I guess, to summarize.
Yes, and that has all of the issues at hand. There's lots of spam issues. Email itself has become very difficult, and that's mainly because we have central point of failure. Everybody went on the free stuff, and you get what you pay for. So you just don't get our emails sometimes, which hurts us directly. I will say I've seen a lot of people move to Proton Mail, and they seem to have no issue over there. So if you want to resubscribe to the newsletter and make sure you get it, Proton Mail seems to be good. Again, single point of failure, but it's not run by douchebags as far as I know. That's a different country. So
now I want to mention something else since we're talking about shop. The idea of which Adam mentioned at the outset, which is the newsletter's real purpose is to remind you to listen to tomorrow's show. And a lot of podcasters, I've told podcasters to do this, but most of them, it's too much work, I don't want to do it. They don't do it. And the problem with any kind of work like this podcast in particular, any of them, is that you think this podcast, the people doing the podcast, you think your podcast is the center of the world. And that's all people are thinking about all the time. Oh, God, when's the next No Agenda show?
Guess what?
In fact, nobody's thinking about the No Agenda show. Except us. I'm thinking about it. My wife's thinking about it. Adam's thinking about it. We're thinking about it. And a lot of podcasters assume that because you're thinking about it, everybody's thinking. No, nobody's thinking about it.
That's right. In fact,
that's why you do it.
Like last night, Tina even said, "Oh shit, you got a show tomorrow." She wasn't even thinking about it.
Of course not.
No. So, thank you.
And then you get the other thing from me, just from the wife. "Oh, I forgot you had a show today."
Wow. You get on show day, you get that?
No,
wow.
I may have in the past.
That's what 25 years of marriage will do, I guess, huh?
You got a show today?
You got a show today?
You guys still do. I haven't gotten this. You guys are still doing that podcast?
Thank you to our executive and associate executive producers. These titles are real, and you can display them. I am ramping up my LinkedIn account. I found the login. I'm starting to clean it up a little bit. So if you haven't already, connect to me, then connect, and we'll see if we can build some of the network there. But you do have to have your title, your producer title, in your profile on LinkedIn. And it has to be showed prominently. And a lot of successful people have it in there, so you'll be able to see how other people do it as well. And above all, thank you for supporting our Value for Value network, and we'll be thanking more people in our second segment, second half of show. And if you'd like to support us, you can do it for the Sunday show. Go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
And you are up to speed on all things debate, so you'll be cool now.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order. Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
So, talking about Buzzkill Jr., he sent me a link to a deep fake voice creator.
Okay.
Now, there's a web page. I could put it in the next newsletter. I'll because although you might not be interested, I decided you put it can turn your voice into Kennedy's voice, Obama's voice.
Now, are these the same guys that did the Joe Rogan voice fake? Is it the same outfit?
I don't know, but I don't think so.
Okay.
It's independent research. They also do Oprah and Clinton and a couple other people, including one who I think is a researcher. So I decided to put into the thing, you put your voice in, and here's John's voice. This is me putting in one of the things that I'm going to say.
No Agenda is the best podcast in the universe.
Now, that's you. It's a really that's you, and you recorded that on your phone.
No, I recorded it on a cheap mic that's hooked to the other computer.
Oh, okay. It sounded
but
cheap.
You can hear what does it say? What did I say?
No Agenda is the best podcast in the universe.
No Agenda is the best podcast in the universe, right?
Yeah.
So it's understandable.
Yeah.
Let's hear what it sounds like in Kennedy's voice.
No Agenda is the best podcast in the universe.
Now, did Buzzkill Jr. send this as, hey, this is great? Wow, fooled me. I thought it was JFK.
Yeah, well, you want to hear Clinton voice.
Okay, Clinton voice.
No, I can't stop that.
Sounds just like Clinton.
Just like him. This is really. I'm being fooled.
I know you'd be stunned. Now here is Obama, just to get these out of the way.
Which one?
Obama
There's two.
Voice.
Okay, all right.
Politicians, go-away politicians, Irish politicians,
I'm better than that.
Well, that was no good.
No.
So let's try it. I had one. I got this one. I said something else in this Obama voice. And he's got this weird noise at the end.
I mean, what is the web? What is the URL for this piece of crap?
I'd have to get it for you.
All right.
The point is it's not very good.
Thanks. Jesus.
OTG going OTG. I'm an OTG kind of guy.
OTG, baby!
OTG going OTG. I'm an OTG kind of guy.
Hey, I got a full-on segment today in our off-the-grid segment, OTG. We are OTG kind of guys. That means we like to create as little data as possible for commercial companies to exploit, and if possible, to keep them from selling our data. And as you know, it's not really the government who's spying on you. It's your friendly Silicon Valley companies, and they'll be happy to share it or even sell it to the government. And I have three topics, two just quickies that we can and get through. If you've recently purchased a smart TV, which I think all TVs are now branded as smart TV, can you even buy a boring old television anymore?
Not a good one.
No.
The one that scares me more than your doorbell, it's your TV. And that's the one people aren't talking about. Smart TVs today, almost all the ones you've bought, if you bought a TV in the last few years, it has a camera and a microphone on it that you probably didn't know. If you ran your finger around the black edge of it, you will find a little hole. It's a camera. They have created, the television manufacturers and the networks have created a technology called ACR, automatic content recognition. They're using facial recognition and voice recognition, so your TV in your living room wants to know who is watching and what show are they watching. So they're looking at you through a camera using this ACR. Facial recognition, they know it's your teenage daughter. Voice recognition, they hear her talking and they want to hear her say, this show is boring and I don't like it. That's why they created it. In fact, this technology is so interesting that some people may not know. There was quite a scandal because the CIA said, wait, we could listen and look at people in their homes through their TV. That whole project was called Weeping Angel. You can Google it and see. And people say, is this legal? That's the question. And the answer is actually no, it's not legal. The Video Protection Act of 1998 protects us from that. But, Stuart, every one of us, when we install something or set up a new TV, it says accept user agreement. When you clicked accept, you are then overriding your own protection, because in the fine print that no one has ever read, it actually says you're enabling us to do something they call smart interactivity. You just gave them permission to use the camera and use the voice, the microphone, to look at you and listen to you, to figure out what you're watching on TV, who in your house is watching it, and what they're saying about it.
The Weeping Angels Project, ladies and gentlemen, have a look at that. You will be surprised, and you may want to reconsider the device that you've placed so prominently in your living room so they really can see you everywhere and everything you're doing, even what you're doing when no one's home and you're watching that special channel. Just think about that. But that's not all. John, you may want to get off Grindr.
Tonight, an alarming warning from national security officials about the personal information you put on your dating apps.
If there's an interest to see it, assume that somebody could see it.
Our investigation begins in Europe, where transparency laws give us a window into just how much of your personal data is at risk. This is Victoria. Been on a few dates?
Yeah.
An American who recently moved to London. Here, unlike in the US, European law requires dating apps to turn over data they keep on users if requested. We had 3 people living in Europe request their data. We found that Hinge collected a stunning 250 pages of data on Victoria in less than 6 months. NBC News looked at these 4 dating apps and found they collected personal information, including everything from exact location data to sexual preference. Some collecting users' chat messages and Grindr collecting HIV status.
It's made me rethink using the apps.
John Demers is the Assistant Attorney General for National Security.
How long does that data live for?
It could live forever.
Justice Department officials tell NBC News they are concerned about Grindr, the popular dating app for gay men. It's owned by Kunlun Tech, a Chinese gaming company, sparking concerns the app's data could be turned over to the Chinese government.
And they laugh at me with my flip phone. They laugh at the flip phone. These are not great services to be a part of. These are not great apps to put on your phone at all. And I have bad news for people. Bad news. Yeah, bad news. I got a call from one of our security experts who actually he was a penetration expert and he got upgraded. So now he's an analyst. So now he has some time to call me. And, we've been talking about different banking methodologies for transferring money, particularly when it comes to the show. We have Zelle, Z-E-L-L-E. There's a couple others. But the main one that I think we were talking about over the past 2 shows was Venmo. Venmo, and people seem to be paying bills with it, and Venmo is a really big deal. And our security producer called me, he said, I have to tell you what's going on here. And by coincidence, a whole bunch of news around this company comes out. Not Venmo, but the company Plaid, P-L-A-I-D. Have you ever heard of Plaid, John? Plaid?
No.
So I'll spoil, I'll play the intro, and then I'll explain what they're doing. It's a 3-parter, 3 clips here. Plaid is a company that sits in between your bank and your app that you're using. And I can tell you up front, almost any app that deals with money is using this company, Plaid.
Makes sense. It's an MSA.
What's MSA?
Microservices architecture.
It is, but it's quite macro in what it does, and what it's actually doing is really mind-blowing, and it's very, very important that we understand what they're doing, because this company just 2 days ago was purchased by Visa for $5 billion. And this is literally the day that I'm talking to our producer. He didn't even know that part. Here's an intro to the company Plaid. It's a CNBC report. It's a shitty one, but at least they have the founder in here, and you'll hear what they do. Here's the intro.
The interesting key to this new era, though, is that we are seeing players who are operating to create new infrastructure that will be relevant in the world of banking and big data and artificial intelligence as we go forward. And one of those examples is Plaid.
We've integrated with every bank in the U.S. and now most of the banks in Canada and many in the U.K. And those integrations allow us to collect data or take action on your behalf.
If you use Venmo, Robinhood, or pretty much any other modern finance app, you've also used a company called Plaid. We sat down with Zach Perret, co-founder and CEO of Plaid, at the company's San Francisco offices.
We've always had this kind of mantra of making money easier for consumers. We want to make money easier for everyone. We found out we need to go one layer deeper, build the infrastructure that sat behind these applications. And so this infrastructure is basically the connectivity between your bank account and an application on the web.
Through Plaid's Application Programming Interface, or API, the company can do a lot of the heavy lifting on the back end for someone who wants to make an app. Without a third party like Plaid, startups would have to hire their own engineers and create their own ways to sync with banks, which needs to be adjusted based on different laws and regulations of various countries. Plaid also adds analysis on top of the bank account, so app users are able to do things like budgeting or expense management. It can authenticate bank accounts for direct payroll deposits and electronic bill payments, verify someone's identity, verify someone's balance in real time, and understand income and employment.
Okay, so we understand the basic premise. You're right, microservices architecture. The reason they exist is that the banks, the U.S. banks, really had no API, application programming interface, that they could expose to app developers. And I mean, it's also Coinbase, as you said, it's Acorn, it's Robinhood. I mean, there's hundreds of these apps that use Plaid as their connection to the bank. So they're really a piece of middleware, but it's about how they do that and what they do. I'm sorry?
Well, middleware technically, but it's off-site, so it's an MSA.
It is. You're wrong. It is middleware, and it's important. That's the crux of this story. Listen to this.
They had actually experienced the problem firsthand, so they started out actually building a financial technology app direct to consumer. It was to help them track expenses, track spending, things like that, and they ran into the problem firsthand that they couldn't connect to bank infrastructure.
We went to a hackathon, a TechCrunch Disrupt hackathon, and we just built a product on top of our infrastructure and kind of launched it, and it ended up winning the hackathon. We had a ton of people coming to us saying, hey, can I use the back end to that application you built, or can I kind of license your infrastructure to go build X, Y, or Z?
They made it big with their first customer, Venmo, which was not a household name at the time. That app, now owned by PayPal, has 40 million accounts in the U.S.
They had a pretty massive interchange fee, and Venmo wanted to switch their model to running on ACH rails, so direct bank transfers, which have a much lower fee. And they couldn't get consumers to actually link their accounts because it was too arduous, too difficult. It was a process where you had to type in your account number, your routing number, you had to wait 3 or 4 days, go log into your online banking or look at your bank statement, type in 2 and 4 cents. They did this trial deposit verification. It didn't work at all, and no one would do it on mobile devices. And so they came to us and said, hey, can you do this quickly and easily? And we, of course, had this instant onboarding process, which they started using. We grow as the first derivative of the fintech market. We're fortunate to have almost every fintech company that's built on top of Plaid. As the ecosystem grows, so do we. So, for example, many of our lending customers use Plaid to help understand a consumer's complete picture of their finances as they're applying for a loan. So if I go to a bank and I want to apply for a mortgage, the bank can easily link the accounts that I have with them, but maybe I have a stock investment account, maybe I have another checking account, maybe I get funds from another place. How can I link all those accounts together, create a financial picture, and then use that to apply for the mortgage without having to come in with my 40 pages of documentation?
The old model of connecting a bank or transaction account by using a routing and ABA number and an account number, these are not things that are just lying around, whereas sort of your login to your bank is in your head most of the time.
So the uptalking is important here because it shows you that this is a millennial who has millennial values and doesn't care as much as us Gen Xers / boomers might about what is going on here. As you heard, the way that did not work for anybody, and I'm sure everyone who's listened to this show, if you've been around for the past 10 years, active and had a bank account, you've probably gone through the routing number, bank account number, wait for the 2 pennies to be deposited, then go back and then say, okay, I got the 2 pennies and 7 cents over here, and then the authentication is made. Instead, these guys have built a screen scraper. So if you have Venmo, you have literally given them your username and password to your bank account. They go in acting on your behalf and emulate a human being on the website of the bank. And that's why they can do everything once they're in. They can see your credit card purchases, when you've paid your credit card, anything that you can do with your login to your bank account, they can now do, which sounds fabulous. But have you read their terms of service? No, because you never heard of Plaid. They can do anything they want with the data they have collected. And that's all of your banking information. So when you log into your bank, I have Mechanics Bank, you log into your bank, anything I can do in there, they do, because they are literally emulating clicks. They're emulating clicks, and they've done it for every single bank. So they are not just facilitating a transfer. They are acting as you, and you don't really know it, and you don't know really what they can do other than what you heard is, so how do you get these instant loans? Because they go into your bank account, do an analysis based upon when you pay your credit card, what you're using your credit card for. That's how they determine for their customer if you're trustworthy of a loan, because you basically said, hey, come on in and use my bank.
Yeah, I think we got the picture.
You don't find this to be extremely disturbing?
I definitely wouldn't sign up for it. I think I'm wondering whether it's even legal. You can't be scraping my passwords and doing all this stuff.
It's completely legal, and here's the segment about that.
The regulatory environment is completely different in Europe. It is a little bit more forward-leaning around consumer ownership and access to data. Plaid, one of our foundational beliefs is that consumers own their financial data, and they should be able to do with it what they want to do. And in Europe, the laws are quite clear, saying that consumers have access to and ownership of all their financial data, and actually they stipulate how that data can be shared, which is great. So it's really forward-leaning there. We still have a long way to go in terms of challenges. Like communicating across an ocean is no easy feat.
When you have a company like Plaid and it takes your data with your permission and uploads it to some other entity, it is now governed by a whole series of murky rules, which are overlapping and sometimes conflicting, involving third parties and also involving data ownership. We don't have clarity in the U.S. about who owns the data, and importantly, we don't have clarity about when the liability for the security of that data transfers from one entity to the next.
So what people need to understand is that when you use Venmo, they are going into your account and you've given them permission to do anything they want. That's in your end user agreement. I'm just going to read a few things from how we share your information from. You think you're dealing with Venmo, but you're not. You're dealing with Plaid. We share our data with the developer of the application you are using. So all the data, any data they get from you, which is your entire bank account, not just your where the money is, but everything within your banking, with what you do with your bank. Our data processors, other service providers, partners, or contractors in connection with services they perform for us or for developers. In connection with a change in ownership or control of all or part of our business, such as a merger, acquisition, reorganization, or bankruptcy. So all your data, if you used any of the plethora of apps, now is owned by Visa because Visa just bought it. Between and among Plaid and our current and future partners, affiliates, subsidiaries, and other companies under common control. And we may collect, use, and share end-user information in an aggregate. This includes retention. We retain end-user information no longer than necessary to fulfill the purposes for which it's collected and used, unless a longer retention period is required and permitted, as permitted even after you stop using an application or terminate your account with one or more developer. We may still retain your information. This is crazy.
I think we get the picture.
Yeah, thanks for being an asshole about it, but I think this is important.
You're not letting me talk.
I am. All you're saying is I think we get the picture.
Smart audience. The picture is that if you use Venmo, you're basically turning over all your personal information and all your
bank
Venmo data and all your passwords over to some third party.
It's not Venmo. It's hundreds of apps, John.
Okay,
hundreds.
Anyone who's associated with Plaid is what you're saying.
Which is every single financial app that's out there that connects to your bank, because there is no app that connects directly to the bank except for your bank's app. Every single one runs through
what
this.
You're saying. My question is, which is I would hope you thought about, is what happens when a mobbed-up operation gets involved in this and just steals everybody's money all at once?
Exactly the problem.
Well, there's been discussions about these various bank heists that are worldwide. We've talked about it on the show about 2 or 3 years ago. These mysterious bank heists were through electronic manipulation. Entire fortunes are wiped out of certain banks, and the banks don't like talking about it because it's like the banks never like talking about how they get ripped off when it comes to electronic fraud. Sounds to me as though we're looking at a setup for a real beauty.
All someone needs to do is to get into this company, and once they get into their system, it's over. I mean,
yeah,
you have no idea how many apps are using this. It's really, the list is really, really crazy. And I think it's a big story that is, yes, many in our audience may understand it, but I think it's bigger than that. I think more people need to understand this.
I think legislation needs to be employed. This is not right.
Well, everywhere you read about these guys, they keep the bottom line is the banks really don't want any legislation. They want to have their own API, but now they're stuck between a rock and a hard place because the minute they turn off Plaid, they'll turn off the biggest is Venmo. But there's just countless apps that tie into this, and they'll lose their customers within 10 minutes because they'll all say, "Oh shit, you don't use Venmo? I'm going over here." So now they've screwed it up because they didn't jump into this early enough. And do you think that politicians and policymakers understand this?
They'll understand after the big bank heist.
The worst part, the one that freaked me out, is Coinbase. I immediately disconnected because I used Coinbase to buy Bitcoin.
Oh, you're a Coinbase user.
Not anymore. But of course now my data can be retained by Plaid, and it's now been sold to Visa, even though I've disconnected. I'm no longer using Coinbase, i.e. I'm no longer using Plaid. I am very upset about this.
Yes, I noticed.
Well, moreover, when you just keep saying, "I think we get the pink
Well, I think you're beating me up with this. I mean, I got it right away that what's going on. These guys have come through these, when you said screen scraper, if they're scraping my password and my entry into a bank account, and they're just using it to bypass the system that's normally in place, which is the one you mentioned, which is the 2 cents, which a lot of people don't understand because they never put up one of these accounts. Putting a 2 cents in the account and confirming it takes 2 or 3 days for this process to work. Yeah, I can see immediately what the difference is, and what they're doing. It just seems A, sounds illegal, and B, it sounds something that can be abused to not a little extreme, but to a massive extreme where you could bankrupt the country.
Exactly. That was my point. And I wish you had just said that. That's all.
Well, I tried to, but you called me an asshole when I tried to stop.
Because it was the second time you said, "We get it." Instead of saying...
We got it. I think we did get it. Okay. But you should have gotten to the big point, which is the possibility of this bankrupting the country. So these guys, what's going to happen, here's what's going to happen. Because they know they could bankrupt the country. It's the mob. Or the Russians, or the Chinese.
Anybody.
They're not going to do that, though, because that's not what you do. What you do is you get into these systems.
And you take it out slowly.
Yeah, it's the office space.
$10 a month.
You nickel and dime it to death. You take out a penny here and a penny there, and you're just pulling out millions and millions and millions of dollars from the system very slowly, because you don't know how much money do you need. And you just keep doing this over the years, and you could take out billions before anyone even finds it more than a rounding error.
Fannie Mae uses Plaid. I'm just watching, and I'm just looking at what's coming in now. That's mortgages. I just find it, and this is also why 10% of Venmo payments fail. because they're screen scraping, and screen scrapers fail. That just doesn't always work.
Somebody's really good exit strategy.
Well, these guys just sold the company for $5 billion, so the nice exit right there. They don't need to do any. They're done. They can move out. And I don't think you're right. This would have to be legislation to stop this in its entirety, outlaw it immediately, because there's no way the banks can transition. They're trying. That's what Zelle is about. Zelle is not using Plaid. Zelle only works between banks that are hooked up. And that's one of the ways they're trying to get around this. But I think that they've missed the boat. It won't happen. It's done.
I think it can be legislated.
Oh, it can be. But do you see that happening?
I think it can be. I think it can be. I don't see it, but I think if somebody took an initiative and started making
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not going to make any initiative.
Yeah.
No. Why me?
Because you're adamant about it. You're worked up. You're to be perfect. You're the guy to go before Congress and get this fixed.
Oh, yeah, sure. I got time for that. No, I'm not going to do it at all. Not happening.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my OTG segment.
That was beyond OTG. Well, if you're going to go in that direction, but gloom and doom, I have if I can find my clips, I have a couple of clips. Oops, somewhere. Yeah. Where are my? Sorry. Well, play something while I find my clip list.
Okay.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, really?
Sorry. I want to play. This guy's got this Common Sense podcast.
Common Sense podcast.
Yeah, Dave Hodges. Now, this is a podcast I think that goes above and beyond, generally above and beyond the conspiracy style of podcast. This guy is.
Oh, wait, is this the vaccine guy?
I don't know if he's a vaccine guy, but he's not a vaccine guy in this. He might be. It would make nothing but sense if he was.
Okay.
But let's just listen to, I got 4 clips from him because this podcast of his is absolute dynamite. And it has to do with what's coming up this weekend because all hell's going to break loose, apparently. But let's play Dave Hodges' Common Sense Podcast, Part 1.
I have written 2 articles today on the unfolding story connected to the secret meeting behind the Kansas State Legislature and DHS, where they were taken to secret briefings, signed non-disclosure agreements. But we have a handle with our intelligence sources around the country of what is happening. And I published that in 2 articles. There's a 3rd part coming out in the morning that's even more damning because this is a story with many moving parts. And much of what I said earlier today that was the Hodges hypothesis is now being presented as this is the best evidence and this is our conclusion based on the best evidence as it is right now. Let's go back and establish some facts, shall we? We reported heavily here on this channel about drones circling Colorado. And we assume they were looking for guns. Some people don't believe that at all. Some people say it's a joint operation, guns, plus they're looking for something that's missing. What's missing? Well, if you ask many of the federal agents who are known, they're in the field, they're all looking for 2 missing nuclear weapons, and they have been for about 9 months. And this is no secret. Many people in the independent media are talking about this, and they're writing about this. They've written about it for a long time. And the drones have sniffers on them, and they were looking to detect the nuclear weapons. The drones also expanded their area of operation from eastern Colorado north to the southern panhandle of Nebraska and far into Kansas.
Yeah, actually, I had this in my prep for last show. We didn't get to it, but yeah, I heard that this. I heard too. This was the reason for the unidentified drones over Colorado. Was that apparently someone lost a nuke? It fell off, and they can't find it.
Yes, there's been a lot. Mimi's been pestering me to talk about these drones that are flying all over Colorado. about what's going on because there's all these different.
Well, wait a minute. Mimi was convinced that they were mapping. That's what you told me the last time.
That's what she said. She thought it was Google or Amazon mapping, and it made no sense at all. And why would they be? I mean, you can map with the satellites that are already out there. It's not as many. The cloud cover over Colorado goes away. So there's a possibility. Maybe there is, but this guy's got onto something. But he takes it to. He really brings it. He brings it to the fore with his kind of conspiratorial notions. Let's play clip 2.
And this is why DHS is meeting with the Nebraska State Legislature. They tried to keep that quiet. And the Kansas State Legislature, that wasn't kept quiet. What are they after? Well, let's jump over to Virginia. What's going on there? Well, this weekend, all hell is going to break loose. Let's pray that God engages that area and brings peace, calm, and tranquility with divine intervention. But the way things are going, the way it's lining up is this. They're going to start the roadblocks and confiscate the guns. As if that's not enough to get the violence started, we have learned, and we have been reporting on this now for about 10 days, that Antifa is headed there to employ what they refer to as their belt buckle strategy. And this is where they mix in with patriots. They dress like patriots. They have their MAGA hats. And they appear to be good guys. Oh, hey, go Trump. Yeah, baby, Trump, kick butt. And then they start breaking all hell loose. They attack officers. They attack anyone in a position of authority. So the patriots get the blame. Now, what happened in D.C. right next to the communist-controlled blue counties of Northern Virginia? What's there? D.C. And what happened in D.C. 10 days ago? 96 MS-13 and a number of undisclosed amount of terrorists were taken into custody. MS-13, hitmen. We don't know what the terrorist specialty is, but I'm going to make a guess. With the continuity of government drills going on right now in Colorado, I'm going to guess they were rehearsing for the takeout of Washington, D.C.
Really? You're really going to lay the... I mean, maybe we should just do a show with this guy. You seem to love it. This is dumb. Come on, John. This is dumb even for you.
You can... Okay, I will say this. There's 2 clips left. If you don't want to play them, and they're even better than what you heard.
Oh, no. I'm forcing you to play them now. I want to see what's going... Because you are giving 5 minutes of someone else's podcast in our podcast, and it's crackpotty because... they're going to take out Washington, D.C. with a nuke with MS-13 and Antifa. I want to hear it.
Now, this, by the way, the reason I wanted to play these clips is because this guy is predicting it for this weekend. That means Saturday, Sunday, which means it'll be, the government will have been taken over, and apparently Colorado's going to get wiped out too by these nukes. And
wait, and Antifa is running the nukes? Is that the idea?
He never makes that clear. He's very unclear with these theories. Now,
oh, please.
Now, the thing about this is when you made the Pence prediction, which is a minor prediction that he's not going to run for again, that's months and months and months away. But when you have the nerve to do a podcast and make a prediction like this, that's going to happen in 2 days. I don't know how you get away with it because it's not going to happen. This is all bull crap, classic, bad podcasting, which is giving the reputation, the whole business a bad name. It's like you might as well put Peter Griffin on.
If I can just say the Virginia gun confiscation has been bubbling under for several weeks now. It's come to a forefront. Tucker Carlson now saying this is very scary, very scary. They want to shut down indoor gun ranges. It's a gun grab, gun confiscation. They're coming for our guns. This has been bubbling under for several weeks. And I really think most of it is bull crap. I don't know. Okay, listen, I'm game to hear it all.
Wait, while you're on that, the other thing, this guy's claim in this last clip was they're having roadblocks, which he will say is illegal roadblocks to confiscate the guns. Are people driving around their cars, especially people that have big caches of guns? Are they driving around with the guns in their trunk? What are they expecting to find?
I have a gun in my car.
Okay.
Of course, I drive.
They get you then.
I live in Texas, son.
Yeah, well, in Texas, you're good to go. Play clip 3.
And I think this Virginia roadblock situation with Governor Northam, or should I say Soviet Premier Northam, I think this all plays nicely into their hands. Will Antifa be part of a nuclear-based operation? Maybe, maybe not. And the 2 nuclear weapons are not the only thing you have to worry about, the fact that they're missing. I have learned from a couple of my federal agent sources that they have long been concerned at the border about medical-grade highly enriched uranium coming into the country, because what it is, it's medical. It's for dental, x-rays in general. But if you get enough of the medical, the only difference between medical, highly enriched uranium, and military-grade weaponry is the amount. So if you acquire enough and smuggle it across the border, voila, you can create your own dirty bomb explosion, or worse yet,
Now, do you subscribe to this podcast? Do you donate to him? How do you come across? What is your connection?
This is my first time. I'm a new listener, long time no donor. Is that the end of that one?
Nuclear explosion. So it's not just we have to worry about the missing, we have to worry about the what's coming in. And I had that confirmed more for me today.
Oh, yeah. Okay, a couple of things. One, in what universe do you need enriched uranium for an X-ray machine?
Why are you deconstructing this guy?
I'm just asking.
No universe, because it's dumb.
So his idea about enriched uranium coming in through medical systems, and we'll just skip the whole thing as being idiotic. There is a part 4 if you're interested.
Oh, I'm interested.
But let's go down a scenario, because things start to make sense when you start connecting all the dots. Number 1, if DC's taken out,
I guess this is very interesting that you're doing this, where you're very frustrated with me. I get it. You're overdoing it, killing the point about something I thought was important. Yet we're really spending 5-6 minutes on this idiot.
If DC's taken out, we've already rehearsed this. Who's the capital? Colorado. But wait a minute, drones were looking for what in Colorado? Exactly. So if you're going to take out number 1 because you want to destroy America, why wouldn't you take out the backup capital site as well? Wouldn't that make sense? Really cripple the country, paralyze its ability to manage its affairs, and it would be an easy country to overrun. And isn't that what the globalists want as they establish their new world order? You have to do away with the 423 million handguns. You have to do away with all the veterans.
Oh, wait. Does he bring in the United Nations, have hired someone who's going to be managing the gun collection? Did he put that in? I hope he put that in.
That can fight. You have to do away with the government that would stand up. Simply put UN troops in the form of Chinese.
Oh, there it is, UN
soil.
There we go.
You would have instant martial law. And isn't it interesting that Bernie Sanders operative, his campaign operative, came out yesterday and said FEMA camps for Trump supporters? Listen, I don't think this is a random comment. I think this is reflective of a view that represents top Democratic leadership. Why? Because all of these people are connected in one way or another to the illegal arms deals with Ukraine.
Yeah. Okay. Jesus.
Well, we'll know, Mr. Doubter.
Yeah, well, we'll know this weekend, right? I mean, maybe I'll be able to know
this week. This guy puts himself out there. He says this weekend.
Yeah, I should be able to see the smoke plume from my house. I can't wait.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. No agenda in the morning.
Ha, you laugh now. All right, well, we do have a few people to thank for show 1208, helping produce the show. Starting with Mike Marikian. He needs a de-douching.
Okay.
You've been de-douched.
He came with $150. Sir Joe from Palm Bay, Florida, 12345. Thomas K, 12345. Jonathan Hess, 10101. Trevor Burns in Keensburg, New Jersey, 100. A very long note. You might want to look over if there's anything in there that's important.
I read. This is about vaccination. It's a very nice note, but it's and I've noted down what he has said.
Simon James, $100 in Australia. Sir Chris Gray of the Isle of Wight, Isle of Wight, 88.88.
He has a birthday for his son Ryan. We got that on the list.
Interesting. We have somebody on the Isle of Wight.
We've discussed this before. We've talked about it.
Every time it comes up, I mention it.
Yeah, and they have a Dynamite Lobster restaurant there, which all the private pilots fly to the Isle of Wight just to eat the lobster.
And you've been there.
Of course. Hello.
Brian Walters, 8008. Ronald Schul, 8008. He came in with Pop Money, which is I don't believe uses that system.
I don't think Pop Money uses it, but while you're talking, I will check.
Yeah, check. Daniel Walraven, 7520. And the funny thing is, I never had to sign up for the Pop. The Pop Mail thing goes straight to the bank.
Pop Money, right? Pop Money.
Pop Money.
Yeah.
Pop Money.
I don't think they use Plaid. I think
they're like the other ones.
Yeah,
Zelle.
like Zelle. Exactly.
They're operating outside the.
Yeah, well, that's the desperate attempt by the banks to get away from it.
Well, Pop Money came up before. What's that one that people Venmo? I believe. I think Pop Money's pretty old. Daniel Walraven, 7520. Brandon Foster, 75. Subodh Peth in Metairie, Louisiana, 7373. My son said after hearing Adam talk about the CES Charmin robot, it sounds like a high school science project.
Yeah, pretty much.
Glenn Spangler, 6969. F cancer. My father succumbed to a brain tumor last August. We'll put that at the end. Bill LeClaire, 61. Yes, I'm still donating, but a lesser monthly amount since I'm retired from my Silicon Valley company. I wanted to donate this amount in honor of my friend Kerry's birthday. He's on there, but I think he's a douchebag. If not for him, I may have never known about the best podcast in the universe. I think he needs a douchebag call out. Douchebag. Christopher Dectors, 5678. Bill LeClaire, by the way, was $61. Kyle Thompson, 5510. Amber Simpson, 5510. Christopher Rotger in Meeteetse, New York, 5510. A lot of 5510s today. A lot of them. Brian Moss in Rancho
Cucamonga.
Oh, okay. 5510. Sir Acid of the Scandinavian Woods, 5510. Sam Van Hoor in Amsterdam, 5432. My last name is still written without the end at the end. Okay.
Hold on. Let me see.
Alan Hernandez, 5150. Sir Selverin, 5150. Sean Florian, 5069. He's got to call out Ryan as a douchebag. Douchebag. Shannon Atkins, 5050. Kevin Larson, 5001. Andrew Spieler in Soraka. Andrew Spieler, I guess. Soraka, 5001. Alexander Beatty in Houston, Texas, 5001. And the following people are $50 donors, name and location, if I have it. Michael Burlett in Odessa, Florida. Chris Slewinski in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Adam Morey in Middletown, Maryland. Mark Johnson in Aurora, Colorado, 50.
Let me read his note, because as of today's payment, he says he will become a knight. Please knight me, Sir Maniac of Colorado. I'm traditional, so I want mutton and meat at the round table. We'll have that for you. I've enjoyed the show for many years. Appreciate the hard work you two have done. I assume I should go to No Agenda Nation for the ring and provide my street address there. Please let me know. Yes, noagendanation.com/rings. And it was nice knowing you, Mark Johnson from Colorado, because you'll be gone after this weekend. I'm sorry to hear that.
Where's he going?
Aren't they? Well, hello, the nuke. They're taking out DC and Colorado. The backup site.
I've already forgotten the story.
The backup site. What are you talking about? Hello.
Maybe Aurora.
Nice knowing you, Mark. We'll knight you just in time for the nuke.
Yeah, and hit for the hills. Although you're in Aurora. Brandon Savoy in Port Orchard, Washington. John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma. Patricia Worthington and Dame Patricia Worthington, in Miami, Florida. Alwa Liebel, I'm guessing. Charles Eves. Eric Ellen, I guess. Elaine.
Yeah.
One of the three in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the home of everybody. And Kyle Meyer in Atlanta, Georgia. Sir Kyle Meyer. Right.
Yes. No, I'm just laughing. Home of everybody.
Oh, everybody's in Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
So they work there or they live there, one of the two. It's the biggest town in Tennessee, I guess. I want to thank all these folks for contributing to 1208, the show, and this helps produce the show, and it makes up for the last couple of 3 shows, which are dismal in donations, and we hope that we can keep it up for Sunday.
Yeah, it would be nice if we can keep a little less of the fluctuation, but that's just the way it goes. We ride the wave. That's the life of a podcaster. By the way, John, Pop Money is, you're correct, is not tied to Plaid. That's why it takes so long. They use the ACH, the automatic clearing house. So it's an overnight thing, but it takes about 3 to 5 days for the money to clear. And that, of course, is why people don't like it as much. Because it takes.
I like it.
No, yeah, but you're not a millennial paying for half of your avocado toast to your buddy.
Ugh.
And it costs 95 cents to send money.
What, on Venmo?
No, on Pop Money.
Oh, it does?
No,
oh, I didn't know
Venmo charges 3%.
So if you buy something for $100, it's what, $3?
Yep.
Hold on a second. Why don't I just give somebody $100?
Because people don't have
cash.
Okay. You really want to know why? Because people don't have cash anymore. You and I do.
It's on the millennial list, by the way. Millennials don't carry cash.
Yeah.
Why? What's wrong with cash? What's wrong with carrying a fiver? Anyway, go on.
I want to thank everybody who supported the show today. This is really a good showing. Thank you so much. And let's keep it going. Let's keep it going so we can save up a little bit for when it does get meager, because these things do happen. There's different periods of year, of the time of the year, etc. But forget about that. You're producing this show. You're keeping it going, and you should be proud of what you're putting together here. Yeah, we're the conduits, but you should be proud of it, all of you. And also those under $50. Again, I see a couple at the $49 level. That's for anonymity. And also our subscriptions, which anybody can sign up for. Please consider that, even if you are if you donate regularly. Just, what was the one you said? So we have an hourly subscription. I thought that was kind of fun. Per hour?
We have this. Well, this has been for a while. This is 75 cents an hour, which is $4 a week, and it comes in as $4 a week.
Oh, very cool. And thank you.
We actually have a lot of people that took that subscription.
I'm sure I like it. It sounds cool.
The most popular subscriptions for anyone who's interested.
Is it?
Believe it or not, the most popular one is the $33.33 a month.
Yeah, I believe that. It's a great number too.
Yeah.
So please consider.
It was for a while. 11.11 was competing with it, but over time, 33.33 has overtaken it. It's very, very interesting.
And we appreciate checks. You can just send a check. Everybody wins with a check. Doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't cost us anything. And it's pretty guaranteed to arrive. Whatever you do it at the following website.
Dvorak.org/NA.
A couple of karmas by request.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It's your birthday. On no agenda.
And we do have a list, thank God. It's been that's also been kind of meager the past few weeks. For today, we say happy birthday to Julie McNeil, celebrating today. Sir Chris Gray says happy birthday to his son Ryan. He turned 4 on December 30th. Sir Chris Gray says happy birthday to his daughter Brianna. She turned 1 on January 2nd. And Bill Leclerc says happy birthday to his friend Carrie, who will be celebrating tomorrow, the 17th. Happy birthday on behalf of everybody here, the staff and management of the best podcast in the universe. Do we have a title change? Yeah, we do.
Title change. changes. Turn and face the slaves. Times changes. Don't wanna be a douchebag.
Sir Scott Lavender, turn and face the slaves as you have upgraded thanks to another $1,000 in aggregate support to the No Agenda Show. You are now the Baron of Montgomery County in Texas, and hope to see you at a next meetup maybe. And thank you very much for your courage and your support of the best podcast in the universe. We have two, let me see, North Night to South. We have one, hold on, I've got a little, there we go, can't find my mouse. We have one knight and one dame. So we need an appropriate blade.
Ah, that calls for the lightsaber. There it is.
Yeah, it sounds very much like an old-fashioned blade, funny enough. Julie McNeil, Craig Martin, both of you, hop on up on the stage here at the podium next to the round table of the No Agenda Knights and Dames. Both of you have supported the show in the amount of $1,000 or more, and we appreciate that very much. And I'm proud to pronounce to KV, Sir Craig, Knight North to South, and Dame Julie of Grand Isle, Louisiana. Wait! There's a third one. Mark Johnson becomes Sir Maniac of Colorado. For you, we've got Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys, and Chardonnay. We've got cold coffee brew and cannabis, diet soda and video games, fish pie and fellatio, geishas and sake, vodka and vanilla, bong hits and bourbon, sparkling cider and escorts, ginger ale and gerbils, and by request, although it's always here, mutton and mead. Almost Miss Sir Maniac of Colorado there, Mark Johnson, who we just spoke about. I mean, he already got eliminated. And it hasn't even been the weekend yet, and I took him off the list. I didn't mean to do that. So he's back and appropriately knighted.
Well, good. He can enjoy today and tomorrow. No agenda meetups.
The No Agenda Meetups, which you can find at noagendameetups.com. Just a quick overview. Today we have the Austin Local 512 at 7 o'clock at Doc's Backyard. Of course, there's Scott Barnett of the Armory. Will be hosting that. We have the Charlotte meetup tomorrow. That is at 7 o'clock, Sycamore Brewing. Saturday, we have New York City at 5 o'clock. Athena and Alex hosting that. Also, the other coast, Los Angeles, and that will be at 2 p.m. Saturday, yes. We had our meetup. Jesse Coy Nelson had organized a meetup in Beirut, Lebanon. And he sent us a meetup report. Let me just find it here. Sorry. Well, this is odd. Did I put it under the wrong heading somewhere? No, this is going to suck tremendously. I saved this meetup for him. Oh my gosh. This was the funniest thing yet. Hold on, let me find out where is Well, that's the oddest thing. Let's see if we can play it like this.
This is Jesse Coy Nelson for the No Agenda meetup here in Beirut, Lebanon. I cannot lie and say I've got other fellow No Agenda listeners amongst me, but it's still like a party.
So Jesse did a meetup by himself, basically, in Beirut, Lebanon. I guess we don't have any other producers there.
It wouldn't surprise me.
He has scheduled his next meetup as he continues his No Agenda Toon Man tour. He will be in Amman, Jordan on Saturday, and he will be at the Amigo Pub in Amman, Jordan at 6 o'clock. So please go to noagendameetups.com and see if you're in Amman. Definitely go and visit Jesse.
We may have someone in Jordan.
I think we do, and he's also going to Israel, and I know that we have a couple of nights there, and they have already communicated, so I know they will show up. And just rounding it out for this weekend, Nashville has their 6-week cycle at 7 o'clock, and Rich will be organizing that. For all the details, go to noagendameetups.com, noagendameetups.com, where you can find a meetup near you, or organize one yourself. It really is a fun way to meet other people, have interpersonal human relations and communications without any risk of anyone getting triggered and pissed off, because it's just not the No Agenda way, apparently. NoAgendaMeetups.com. And thank you all for your courage for setting these up and for doing them. And we need more meetup reports. I love the meetup reports. I'm going a little long today, but I did want to highlight some messaging that's going on in the climate change arena.
I have a climate change intro, which was on PBS, Climate Change Report.
Okay, hold on
30 seconds.
Climate change report.
A severe winter storm in Pakistan and Afghanistan has killed 160 people since Sunday. In other extreme weather news, this past decade was the hottest ever recorded on Earth. That is according to new data out today from NASA and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Scientists said that 2019 was the second warmest year on record. They attributed the global warming trend to man-made climate change.
Wait a minute. So we're going in the right direction. We're going down. It's the second. So success is working.
Turning around.
It's working.
Looking up. And I think it was funny to do that report right after the Pakistani snowstorm that killed a bunch of people. And it's also Washington State. Poor Mimi's snowed in up there.
Is she okay? She got power and everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I know.
A quick little reminder, Al Gore started this thing a while back. And it is in order to give people a visual about how dangerous climate change is. He has resorted to a comparison to Hiroshima bombs when it comes to what is happening with climate change. And he's upgraded as we go along. So just as a reminder, here's Al Gore from a couple of years back.
As would be released by 400,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs.
Okay, so 400,000, but not to be outdone, he came back 2 years later.
And it now traps as much extra heat energy every day as would be released by 500,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every day.
So 500,000 Hiroshima-class bombs exploding every day. That is the same amount of energy that we are witnessing right now warming up our ocean. You see, this is about the warming of the ocean. We had a new report that came out. The report, a credible report, The Guardian did a big write-up on it, and this is the messaging from the report.
2019 was the warmest year on record for the world's oceans.
Now, just so you know, don't be confused, because Amy said it was 2019 is the second warmest year, but that's for the globe. It was the warmest for the oceans. The oceans were the warmest ever. We need to put a number on it.
2019 was the warmest year on record for the world's oceans. That's according to this study published in the journal Advances in Atmospheric Sciences. To put that into context, one professor interviewed by Vice says it's about the equivalent of five Hiroshima bombs of heat every second, day and night, 365 days a year. The ocean's temperatures warmed by 0.075 degrees in 2019, which might not sound like a lot, but the amount of energy that's needed to be absorbed for it to rise like that is astronomical. The single year increase in stored energy between 2018 and 2019 was equivalent to 394 million Hiroshima bombs.
Wow, it's scary statistics, isn't it?
94 million Hiroshima bombs. It's just scary, John. It's just scary. Can you imagine so it's 0.07 degrees, immeasurable, really. But to make it scary for everybody, we have to say 394 million Hiroshima bombs. Then everybody's dead. But wait, can we make it a little more relatable?
The average temperature of the world's oceans reached the highest point on record last year. The Guardian reports that the rise is an indicator of global warming, adding studies show that oceans are getting warmer every year. According to a recent report in the journal Advances in Atmospheric Sciences, the amount of heat added to the oceans is equivalent to every person on the planet running 100 microwaves 24/7.
Back to the Hiroshima bombs. This is really not going to work.
Now, hold on a second. You're going too fast. Let's get back to that first clip. Now, that woman, she said, she made this comment. She had some millions of bombs a day.
Well, no, she said that to warm the warming this past. Here's how I understood her. The warming this past year of the ocean, which is 0.07 degrees, is the equivalent of 394 million Hiroshima bombs.
Oh, that would be
I guess
the year.
For the year.
Because she did the calculation. She said it would be, earlier in the clip, she says it would be 5. It's like people having 5 bombs every second of every day, 24 hours a day, 360 days a year.
I think this is it.
Every second, day and night,
Hold on.
the equivalent of 5 Hiroshima bombs of heat every second, day and night.
5 Hiroshima bombs every second. Every second.
Yeah.
So
I did the calculation about how many bombs a day would that be to compare it to Gore's previous thing.
Right.
So you multiply 5 times 60 times 60 times 24.
It's 100 million.
432,000.
Oh, so that
a day.
So it's gone down from the 500,000.
Well, but she's in the between. She's in between 400,000 and 500,000 with 432.
But it's gone down.
Apparently, yeah. I think.
Why aren't we celebrating?
Maybe exaggerating.
But why aren't we celebrating? Why don't we celebrate if it goes down? If it's the second hottest year on record, why aren't we saying, hey, it's working, more of whatever we're doing?
Wait a minute, hold on a second. What you're saying,
yes,
is that, and this being the second hottest year, what you're saying is that because what you're saying is that if it's trending up, because of global warming, climate change, crisis, whatever you want to call it, advertising, whatever you want to call it, if it's trending up, it should be trending up.
Right.
It shouldn't be trending down. Up and down and up and down, or down.
It's trending down.
I would say it's trending down too.
Well, it's a fact. If it's the second, it's like this Venice story. So Venice
is all dried up now all of a sudden.
Not according to this.
A remarkable and alarming scene playing out in Venice.
You have to understand, there's something called, what is it called? A tide. And so you have high tide and low tide. And low tide, Venice was dry. This was 2 weeks ago? Venice is dry.
As a bone.
So now the waters come rushing back. The tide is high. But listen carefully to what is being said here.
A remarkable and alarming scene playing out in Venice. The worst flooding there in more than 50 years.
The worst flooding in more than 50 years. Which means 50 years ago, it was worse.
Yes.
So this can't be something crazy new, we're all going to die. If it happened 50 years ago, it's something that may happen every 50 years. But that's not how the rest of the report plays out.
The report should read, it should be, if it was you would be asserting is true, which is it's either going to go up or down, it would be the worst flooding ever.
But that's not the truth.
A remarkable and alarming scene playing out in Venice. The worst flooding there in more than 50 years. People wading through the water across St. Mark's Square, one of the most popular tourist spots in the world. Tonight, the mayor declaring a state of emergency now for what he's calling the apocalyptic rising water there. Here's ABC's Maggie Rulli tonight.
Tonight, tourist suitcases floating away in Venice. The mayor declaring a state of emergency, saying the city is on its knees. Famous landmarks like 1,200-year-old St. Mark's Basilica inundated, water flowing through the church.
My life, this was the first time like this.
St. Mark's Square, now a swimming pool. Hotels and shops turned into canals. As water rushes through buildings.
All the clothing, all the things in the shops, in the grocery stores, was all very devastating.
The floods have caused at least 2 deaths, and Venice's mayor is blaming the worst flood his city has seen in more than 50 years on climate change. Now, Venice is used to seasonal flooding, but this one was the second highest in recorded history. David, damages are expected to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
I just don't understand how you can say it's related to climate change if it happened 50 years ago when we didn't have climate change, apparently. Or
just look at the top stories here. Venice canals nearly dry months after historic floods.
Yeah, but this is a brand new report.
Venice canal is almost dry 2 months after severe floods.
I know.
Venice canals reduced to muddy trenches as water levels plummet.
Yeah. Yep.
And the other flood was the famous 1966 Venice flood.
Yes.
That was just predating the climate crisis going the other way. We're going to all freeze to death. Now, we have people that listen to this show that really condemn us for pointing out the obvious, which is that this is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, you can keep your side. I mean, it's not rational, and nobody wants to talk about it, which is the real problem, because nobody will let you talk about it. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
We had a high tide, low tide situation here the other day in the mudflats. And so the mudflats, we had a low tide, yearly low tide, lowest low of low tides. And the mudflats, I swear, went out into the bay. I mean, they were just out a mile. And then when the high tide came in, it was just a high tide. It didn't lap over the freeway, which is right there at ground level or anything. But we're all worried to death. It's high tide. This high tide coming in, the big high tide. This is the way it works.
Yep. Yeah, but you're not allowed to say that. Not allowed to say that. By the way, the Dutch public broadcasters now are running a lower third on certain programming, which says production costs of this program and all CO2 associated with it are being offset. So I guess they're buying carbon credits to offset the carbon they polluted the atmosphere with during the production of the program.
Public broadcasting? Public broadcasting's a polluter.
Yes.
What is the...
I'd like to... I think we should do the same. This program definitely uses lots of carbon, CO2, I should say. We pollute the world with CO2.
How?
Well, I'm opening my mouth. Do you not hear the hot air coming out? So that's one way.
That's
one way.
New.
We're using computers. We have lots of people making clips using computers. So I hereby have a mandate, and the mandate is the No Agenda Show will offset all CO2 used for the production of this program, and we'll do it with a known program. For humanity. John and I will both have a nap after the show, which will reduce our breathing, and will reduce and we'll turn off the lights, and we need at least 100 producers to do the same.
And plant a ficus.
A ficus? Is that the plant of choice?
It is to me.
Affiliates, we're running very late, but I hope you did enjoy this rather extended deconstruction of the No Agenda Show for all media today. And Sunday, we will be mourning the loss of D.C. and Colorado. But at least we'll have predicted it.
At least you knew in advance. You have your chance.
Had your warning.
Go west.
Coming up on NoAgendaStream.com, Steve Pachenik with Adam Curry. Had a chat with him this week mainly about Iran. So you might be interested in listening to that. And end of show mixes, we have quite a few. I'm actually going to move Sir Chris Wilson to Sunday because it's so good. Hugh Allison, Tom Starkweather, Josh Brickman, Leo LaPuke, all on deck. And coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here in Austin, Texas, FEMA Region number 6 in the governmental maps. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where there's no nukes around here, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until Sunday, adios, mofos, and such.
I'm talking about dishwashers. If I'm talking about dishwashers, sinks, toilets, and showers. You don't get any water. Try going and buying a new faucet. You turn it on, no water comes out. We won't talk about toilets. But how about the shower? I have this beautiful head of hair. I need a lot of water. You turn on the water. Drip, drip, drip. Drop on the water. It's a very unpleasant experience. Drop on the water. Situation where we're looking very strongly at sinks and showers and other elements in bathrooms. If I'm talking about dishwashers, sinks, toilets, people are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times. When it comes down, it's called rain.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
Ain't that what you say? Ain't that what you say?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion? We'll have that discussion. You called me. You told me. All right, let's not.
I think you called me a liar. I think you called me a liar. I think you called me a liar on national TV.
I don't want to get in the middle of it. I just want to say hi, Bernie. Yeah, good. Okay.
Like go, nitro, my flow, nice clothes, like
whoa. But this University of Alberta thing, it kind of has me like, whoa. Like, whoa. Like, whoa.
We are in a position right now, we have to remember who we are. African Americans, brown, black, women, men, gay, straight. And make sure we go to the black and brown communities where you can't breathe the air or drink the water that comes out of the tap safely.
This debate isn't real. I was in Vegas the other day and someone said, don't put your chips on a number on the wheel that isn't even on the wheel. That's the problem.
We also have to think about how we spend money.
It was working. It was being held tightly. There was no movement on the part of the tornadoes made of fire.
How would you prevent that from happening again?
Okay, let me tell you. But before I tell you that, let me tell you something else.
That our giant corporations make billions of dollars in taxes, make billions of dollars in profits.
By the CEOs of large corporations.
Senator Klobuchar, I'd like to bring you in here.
Brianne, I want to hit reality here.
Tornadoes made of fire. Joe Biden is a rabid dog. He should be beaten to death with a stick. I count that.
Other than that, you like him.
Other than that, I like him, and he
It's going to take a view to the future as well as the readiness to learn from the lessons of the past. And for me, those lessons of the past are tornadoes made of fire.
I hear that.
Let's go do it.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
I think that sounds pretty good.
You're listening to NoAgendaStream.com. All talk, no commercials, no agenda.
Dr. Steve Pieczenik with Adam Curry for January 14th, 2020. This is episode number 6. That's right. We're rocking the Casbah today, whatever the hell a Casbah may be. And with me is my friend Steve Pieczenik. Steve, how you doing?
It's always a pleasure to come on. I was a little sick, but now coming on with you, I enjoy it, and I feel a lot better.
Oh, well, good. I'm happy to hear this.
I'm always upbeat when it comes to talk with you. So where would you like to go, Adam?
Well, Steve, this of course is the podcast you listen to once a month because after about 4 weeks, you and I are like, yeah, we should probably talk. We got stuff to discuss. And I think, just based on the opening tune, the obvious place to start today is with Iran. And I have a lot of questions. I don't know a lot about Iran other than, the general history of, modern history. But what has been going on in the past few weeks has just been, I think, a fantastic time to be alive and to witness what's happening. Certainly,
with the internet and the ability to communicate directly into this country. We're very connected, and really to see U.S. policy at work, although I have no idea who's running what anymore.
It's an interesting statement you make. There's no question in my mind that from the very day Trump came in, Trump is running U.S. policy. It may not look elegant. It may not look smooth. It may not have all the characteristics that we associate with the Cheneys, who are ruthless, liars, cowards, and they say wonderful things and then they bring us to war. This is a man who, in all of his pomposity and self-aggrandizement, is smart as Machiavelli, even probably smarter. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. He did not articulate well why he wants to do it. It's nobody's business. The business of extraction or surgical extraction, as I've known and you've known it from other histories, is a very sophisticated business. That means you want to take out someone, and you want to take them out very quickly with the least amount of collateral damage. He did it. The reasons for it can be multivariate. In other words, they could be all kinds of reasons in the past, which there were. Soleimani was the man who headed up the killing of our own soldiers. And I've got to say, from the people I know who've been in Iraq and were involved in the Iraq War, though I was against it repeatedly and still am, nevertheless, 500 to about 1,000 of our soldiers were killed directly by Iranian, the IRG, under Soleimani's direction. And many of my friends in intelligence and the various elements of the intelligence community did not forget that. That, along with the notion that there was a clear and present danger, which doesn't mean it's imminent, although anytime you have somebody like Soleimani, it is an imminent danger because you do not know when he's going to act out. And in the business of extraction, which I know a little bit about, you really act at the moment that one or the individual wants to act. In other words, when I was doing a surgical extraction, I did not inform any of the people I was with. I didn't even inform my intelligence corps. I didn't inform the president of the United States. I didn't inform anyone. I did what I had to do and quietly left. Maybe 20 years later, somebody got an idea, whoa, this was an unusual occurrence, the extraction of somebody. But the point of fact is he did it very well. And what's happening in that process, he uncovered an important strategic problem. And that's what really surprised me. And I'll say it right away. For the past 12 years, I have said that Ayatollah Khamenei, the son of Khomeini, whom I had negotiated with, I'd been to Khomeini's house, and they were very pleasant with me after his death, has not been the most effective leader as a Muslim and as a leader in general. He was totally corrupt. He's not very bright. And in fact, you saw the entire dynamic of this individual when they accidentally shot 176 people in the Ukrainian airline. That action alone, with the fact of his deception, corruption, and the fact he was silent, will change the dynamics of Iran. And that probably is called an unintended consequence.
That's a very good backgrounder. I'd like to get a little bit deeper, and I know that you can help us with or help me. There's really, unlike the United States, where we have the people of the United States and the government of and for and by the people. In Iran, this has historically been different for a long time. And what I know about the people of Iran is, or as my friends would call themselves, Persians. For some reason, they don't like to be known as Iranians, and maybe that's a significant difference. It's really two different opinions, two different lifestyles, two different cultures, with one ruling the other. And it seems like it has been this way for decades. We've had protests, we've had an overthrow, although we know it was an assist. Where are we right now? I mean, is it just the students who don't want this anymore? Is there a real Is there a real movement within Iran to change their quote-unquote leadership? And how could it effectively be done? Is it only protest and violence that works, or what needs to happen?
Well, as a result of the crash of the Ukrainian airline, the lie that Ayatollah Khamenei exposed, what has happened is that the entire country, including generals like Salam of the IRG and people who were involved in the city governments, have literally resigned, saying, I can no longer abide by the corruption and disinformation that's being perpetrated by Khamenei. Now, the history of revolution in Iran is not new. So we go back to 1906 when we had an Islamic revolution coming in, and they were the lords who brought it together. Remember, Shiaism is a constant enemy of Sunni. It started in 600 AD over the issue of who Muhammad's successor was. For Shiite, it was Ali, but basically their concentration is on the oppression of people. So the Persians or the Iranians, they don't like the word Iranian because it was a word that was changed by the Shah of Iran in the 20s instead of Persian. These are Persians who have had a history of about 7,000 years with a religion called Zoroastrian, neither Jewish nor Christian nor Baha'i. It was the basis of Christianity and Judaism, heaven and hell. As a result of that, they consolidated power in the 1500s. So Shia has been a part of the area we call Iran. In 1906, there was a consolidation of power. By 1923, the Shah Pahlavi, not the one that we took out, came into power and basically had an overthrow and brought in, guess who? Our British friends. And what did our British friends want? They wanted the oil. As a result of that oil, they built up British Petroleum, which became a multi-billion-dollar corporation. In turn, there was the beginning of a civilian revolution along with Shiites. In other words, the Shiite element has never really disappeared. In 1927, the Shah of Iran, the first one, was found to be corrupt. By World War II, he was taken out and asked to resign by the British, French, and the Russians because of the immense amount of corruption. In turn, Shah Pahlavi came in. That is the Shah we know about. And he was involved in a coup in 1953 where we, the United States, Britain, took out a man by the name of Mossadegh, who nationalized the oil fields. Right. But what's forgotten in that area is the fact that Mossadegh was part of the Communist Party. We forget that element. It's not just communism coming in. It was Churchill saying, we can't tolerate the nationalization of oil. They had a national security interest. The United States was interested. Roosevelt's son was involved. Schwarzkopf's father was involved. And the CIA, in conjunction with MI6, overthrew the Shah, overthrew Mossadegh and brought in Shah Pahlavi. Now, historically, we always see Pahlavi as somebody who's been corrupt and incompetent. The truth of the matter is that from about 1957 or 63 to about 1978, he had created what's called the White Revolution. In other words, he modernized much of Iran because they produced billions of dollars of oil dollars. And in turn, he did put it into roads, infrastructure, modernization of Iran, and they developed what we call the White Revolution. The irony of that revolution is that many of the farmers who used to work in the field, they were literally gotten out of business because of modernization. We didn't need as many farmers in the field. The kids who went to universities because of Pahlavi and the increased education didn't have jobs. So the irony of this white revolution was that we were modernizing Iran alongside of a Shia element, which was secondary to it. And then suddenly the Shia element started to become more prominent. And there was this Ayatollah Khomeini, who was a critic of the Shah. during the time where Iran was ruled by the Shah, and it was a ruthless rule. In other words, everyone that has come in there has not been beneficent or good to the Iranians. They have been ruthless. In the case of Shah Pahlavi, he used Savak. Ironically, much of Savak had become the IRG. I used to say in 79, they just changed their armbands around. Because of Khomeini's protests coming in, and ironically, he was in France at that time, the Shah suddenly said, we're going to crack down on everything that occurred. And the people began to resist the Shah, the corruption, the absence of jobs, the modernization. And Shiaism was really secondary to it. What was happening is, and ironically in 78, 79, I was sent out to Iran to deal with Spike Dubs, an ambassador who was accidentally killed in Afghanistan, but my stopover was in Iran. When I came back to the Jimmy Carter administration, I explained to them that the Russians in Tehran had told me that we have to evacuate our embassies and not put anybody back in there because there was a incipient coup by the Iranian militants, some of whom were Shia and some of whom were, secular students. And they had taken over our ambassador, ironically, had been a CIA operative, but he's an excellent ambassador, Sullivan. Now, that was misread by the Carter administration, by a lot of people in the White House, that we had already been taken hostage because Sullivan was so brilliant that in the New York Times, you saw him extend his hands out over the two guards that he had who were students and made it look as if this was a house call. So when I had warned Gary Sick at the National Security Council and President Carter, with whom I already had problems because of the Hanafi Muslim, he wasn't a coward. He was just not competent, that we should not send in any foreign service officers into Iran. They refused that recommendation, not just because of me, but I had Cyrus Vance, who agreed with that, Warren Christopher, who was Deputy Secretary of State, and ironically, some of the CIA operatives, including Stanfield Turner, who understood, because I had a good relationship with him, that you could not put back the foreign service officers into Iran. And what happened, of course, because Jimmy Carter felt that that was the right thing to do, along with the encouragement of Brzezinski, who's never been given the right assessment. He was a terrible, terrible national security advisor. I mean, I don't know what he wrote in his book, but he was just a really horrible advisor, and we had problems with him, and Cyrus Vance resigned over it. Nevertheless, the foreign service officers, about 60 to 70, went back into our embassy there. And I was ordered, just before the Iran hostage siege, I was ordered to go out and see Khomeini and talk to him, Ayatollah Khomeini. I turned it down. I was a military officer, a deputy assistant secretary of state. I said, I cannot follow your orders anymore. I will resign and keep quiet. And I did. And I didn't say that they would go on for the Iran hostage siege would go on for years. I just said it's going to go on for a long time. And I had no idea of how long it would go on. I resigned, then Cyrus Vance resigned 6 months later.
So up until this point, I think this is probably the moment where my Persian friends say, oh, we've known for as long as we've been alive, and that's, these are 30, 40-year-olds, that America and Iran are always working together. And they're very cynical about it. They're like, all this noise, we know. And I think that was because of the October surprise, the hostage release, that set some kind of tone within Iran, saying, okay, well, all this, and I think they're actually really good at it. They're very good at filtering it out. They may be fantastic analysts to use for intelligence, because they seem to really be able to cut through the bull crap. And all of this was pretty much about oil. And I understand, going back to, if I don't want to go further back than, Reagan, and we have Bush, I think, or Bush 1, Clinton, also about oil, Bush 2. But then Obama, it starts to change, kind of in Bush 2, it starts to change. Now we have this, it's the nuclear threat. Was it always about the oil? And is it still about the oil, just under the cover of, scary nuclear armament?
No, what it is Iran is a powerful Shiite presence in the Middle East. You have a Sunni presence with Saudi Arabia and with Turkey. You have a secular presence with, so to speak, other countries that are there. And we have always had an interest in the Middle East because of its strategic location, the underbelly of Russia. Russia's always been on top of that, Iran. So strategically, we've always been interested. Ironically, Obama doesn't get any credit for the fact, as much as I've criticized the administration, that they were responsible for net export of oil. So from that time, in Obama's time, we were not dependent on the oil. The Clintons were dependent on oil. Reagan was dependent on oil, as was Carter. So the issue there was we didn't want to use our strategic oil. We were not dependent on oil. So they made an agreement on the nuclear power issue. Do the Iranians really care to have a nuclear bomb? In my opinion,
I don't think so.
I don't think they care about it.
No.
What they care about is what you said. They just like to shake, rattle, and roll. They like to get into a conflict, or not a conflict, but a consistent dialogue with us that becomes aggressive. In a way, it allows their leaders to distract the people from the fact that the economy is very, very bad. It's been very bad for years.
Well, if I can just stop you there.
Sure.
In particular, when President Trump came in, but economic sanctions, in my mind, is warfare. I mean, we've been waging a form of war against Iran for a long time.
You are right. It is an economic warfare. It's called economic warfare, but there has always been a loophole. That's where your Iranian friends are cynical, and they know that. And that loophole has been the fact that we have not hit all the central banks that provide the credit lines to the system in Iran. In other words, we have had in economic warfare, the people have been hurt. And they've been hurt quite seriously. But remember what I said, under the Shah of Iran, the White Revolution, they were hurt as well because of the corruption and the fact that there weren't enough jobs. The truth of the matter is that Iran has never had really an effective secular leader who really understands how to manage this country without having to resort to Shiite or to corruption or to an absolute autocracy. The oil was part of it, but internally it is a disaster of the highest order economically. Number one, the embargoes or the tariffs we placed in has caused 200% inflation. Mm-hmm. The unemployment may be from 40 to 50% among the young kids. As you know, your friends will tell you, probably 40 to 50% of that population in the millions are under the age of 30. And when you go there, as I have, it's sad because you see a lot of the kids shooting up. There's not very much that they can do, or they protest. And these are exceedingly bright kids. And unfortunately, many of them had to leave to Canada, as we saw in the Ukrainian airline crash. There was about 80 students from Iran. And fortunately, many of them come to the United States. Some come to Britain. Some come to Germany. And I've seen them all over Europe. But the fact of the matter is, Khamenei has no idea how to run this country, and he's basically counting the days before he'll be overthrown by an internal mechanism or by the young students.
So a couple of definitely need to pause in history here. What is the end goal for the United States? What is the end goal for Trump? It obviously is not just you're not going to have a nuclear weapon. I mean, in my mind, it would be we need to get Boeing in there. We need to get some tourism going. I mean, is that truly what the idea is?
You hit it on the head. It's not, you hit it so correctly that you don't even realize. I'll give you an example. From the north, from Qum or the north of Iran, I flew in a 747 Boeing that was 10 years, that time 10 years ago was already 10 to 15 years old. Yeah. And it was decrepit. Yet the Iranians, the stewardesses and the pilot kind of laughed with me, and they said it would be great if we get Boeing back in here. So what we really need, and I think what Trump is looking at, and you hit it on the head, he's looking at business. You got to remember what he is a businessman. Yeah. So he wants, and what he did was a brilliant back channel maneuver, and we thank the Swiss for that, to say we're not interested increasing the tension. We don't want a war.
I just want to stop you there, Steve, because this is not really big mainstream about the Swiss being the go-between.
All right. I think it's important to understand in your audience that whenever we do, let's say, a surgical extraction, which means we take out somebody or we take out a regime, we also signal at the same time to our adversaries that we do not want to escalate. The reason we do that is because they understand proportionality. And what we want, and Trump has literally said it publicly, we want proportionality, meaning that if you're Iraq and you want to get back because your integrity has been hurt, which it is, and the dynamics of the Ayatollah Khamenei is such that he needed to show he was in power, we didn't want to make him look powerless, then we'll allow you to put some missiles into Iraq on an army base where we have no casualties. That was tolerable. That's called back channel communications, and that has been a very important element under Trump. Let me just say it, under Carter, we had the CIA, we had Helms, and I had over 400 people in that embassy. How many people do you think actually spoke Farsi? That was back in the Carter administration.
Oh, probably 0.
8.
Close enough.
Well, close enough. So you understood exactly where our problem was under Carter. Oil, the inability to predict it correctly, the intelligence, the CIA really coming back in droves, thinking that they had succeeded. And the answer was it was a disaster on all accounts. With Trump, it looks like a disaster only because he has to answer every question. The one recommendation I would give to him is, Mr. President, you did a good job. Please keep your mouth quiet and just go on to the next point, which is really the agreement with China, which will come in tomorrow. So all of the events, and we're talking about a businessman who's really accomplishing end goals and not just process, contrary to what Pelosi's talking about, Schiff and all the others. We're not in the process business anymore. In a way, I think Trump is the nightingale that's basically going to show us or sing the song that we are finished with process. We saw the ineffectualness of the Congress. They really don't work very well because they're into process. And what we're really into is manufacturing goods. We're basically an end product oriented society where we'll have a devolution of power. We've talked about it. That's why Texas, Florida is increasing in population while 300 or 400 people leave California every day for 365 days.
Let me just ask you about, so the goal, the end game is clear, at least for Iran with the United States, with this president. How does he, one of them, how does he square that with because we still have this underpinning of a religious dispute, which has been going on for a long time, and we have Iran and Saudi Arabia. And how are we going to be fair weather friends to both, or how does that work? How does that dynamic fit?
Question. Before we shot down, we killed Soleimani, and the Ukrainian airline was shot down, I had already been talking about, and I noticed that, and I give credit to Mohammed bin Salman, the Prince of Saudi Arabia, who I have criticized in the past. He nevertheless has made overtures before we even killed Soleimani. So he already was in the process of saying, you know what, we're tired of a Sunni-Shiite conflict. We want to have oil. We want to talk about it. And as a matter of fact, he was so concerned about the assassination of Soleimani that he sent his brother to Trump within 24 hours.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure that a lot of dudes around the world went, oh shit, that could happen to me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so you hit it on the head as well. That when we take out somebody like Soleimani with very little collateral damage or none at all, we're basically showing to the world that technologically we're extremely effective at assassination. This was a 5,000-pound MQ-9 Reaper drone. It went 1,500 miles, and it travels at 50,000 feet above the ground and can hit so quickly that you have no idea what happened. The point of fact is we're not trying to threaten Mohammed bin Salman, but Mohammed bin Salman now understands there are going to be overtures of peace with Iran. Turkey wants to make sure there are overtures of peace. They want to increase their economy. They right now are serving as a surrogate. We've given them $6 billion so that people, the Africans going through Europe, will not get into Greece and the European countries. So,
Greece and Cyprus are very separate now. I think these are very, and Israel has a lot to do with Cyprus, and there's a lot of money rolling through it, and now we have natural gas going through this region. So that's really almost to me is separate from the rest of the EU now.
It is in a way, Adam, but you've got to think that as Israel makes an overture to Cyprus and then they make an overture to the EU, we can make a gas pipeline. They, in turn, have understood that the days of having wars is not very effective for them. They're a high-technology country, and for the most part, they are part of the cyber community around the world. In other words, UAE has them, Dubai has them, Saudi Arabia brings in the units of 8200, 8200, and we have them. And we have companies that really were built by Israelis, Palo Alto Networks, CyberArk, and all that. So the positive part of Israel is coming forth to the forefront. I think they're tired of a war with Iran. Now, ironically, what has not been known, and I explained it years ago, Israel fought on behalf of Ayatollah Khomeini, not Khomeini, the father, in the Iran-Iraq war, which was unfortunately started by our neocons, Zalmay Khalilzad and the Boltons and all that under the Bush, under Reagan and Schultz, where literally 1 million people were killed both in Iraq and 1 million people in Iran. And when I went to the battlefield, it was terrible. It looked like a battlefield in World War I. And the Iranians understood they could no longer do this again, nor did they want to. But at the same time, what was not known was the Israelis flew on behalf of the Iranians, Ayatollah Khomeini, and we flew on behalf of Iraq, and the Israelis flew in unmarked Phantom jets. So welcome to the real world.
Right. It's as I'm listening to you go through the history and all the different countries and their feeling towards kinetic war. It seems like in general everyone's kind of going, this has not worked for us. It has not worked for anybody. It's messy. It's problematic. It never really ends well. There are other ways that we can threaten / wage war. I'm thinking, we have space, we have cyberspace. Is that the trend? Yeah. Is that the end? And how does the military industrial complex move along with that change? Because if we're going from stuff that blows up brown people in sandy areas to cyber and space, I mean that's a big change in the Pentagon, basically.
You got it. And I think you hit it right on the head. There is going to be a sea change. And fortunately, I've been not part of it, but when I was trained in 1972 at MIT, I was trained on Cyber Command, NetForce. That was 1972.
Yeah, social networking. You were already training on that back then.
Exactly. That was DARPA and the CIA. Although I was never a member of the CIA, I was trained then in 72, 73 on the Internet and NetForce and Cyber Command. At the RAND Corporation, years later, it became more advanced. Now you hit it on the head, Adam. We have now created a new institution. It's not new. It's about 5 to 10 years old. National Geospatial Agency, NGA. It has to do with geospatial.
Which I think actually it changed its name to the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. I thought it had changed its name.
Correct. You hit it on the head. Be it as it is, it is an intelligence agency, but it's really in cyber communication. We are turning away from kinetic energy and the kinetic war. We no longer want tanks. I don't know what to do with 2.2 million armed forces. What I really need are the young kids who don't have to go to college. They really learn on their own. And the whiz kids who can turn the narrative away from the book to the podcast. Do you know anybody like that, Adam?
It's a great idea.
Yeah. And so that type of individual is the forefront of our revolution. It's quiet. You don't have to go to Harvard and MIT for that. But in fact, artificial intelligence, the appearance, as you know, as deadly as it is of 5G, but cyber command and space are the two issues. That's why Trump, again, very cleverly created a space unit in DOD. Now, we've always had NASA. So the question was, why do we need a unit in DOD, which is a military unit? Well, you kind of hinted at it before. We have a space warfare that's been going on for quite a while now. The satellites have been shooting at each other at different countries, and we haven't talked about it. It's been in the background or it's back channel. In effect, our Department of Defense has said, look, we really need a military capacity that goes to space. Fortunately, we have an institution that trains for that, and that's called the Air Force Academy in Colorado, where we literally recruit the best and the brightest, and most of them will probably go into the space warfare. So we are moving very quickly along those lines. Raytheon is moving along that. L3 Communications moving along that line. CyberArk is moving. And that's why the Israelis, particularly in that unit, is very important to the advancement of cyber command and cyber control.
I'd like to define this a little bit, because this is very interesting to me. And by the way, I think the armed forces will have to let up a little bit on previous drug use, etc., for these new workers that they're looking for, because you're always going to have a problem hiring very highly creative people. The best programmers, in my mind, are bassists. Well, they like smoking weed, and that's how they get so good. But what are the actual tools of cyber and space warfare? Is it to me, obviously, central banking, and I think that we need to really modernize how we're doing that, if that's going to be a tool of warfare, because it's easy to route around it, and that's what's taking place everywhere. And is it bringing down grids? Is that the main tool of the warfare, or is it truly informational, deep fakes, propaganda, disinformation, or is it all? I mean, what are the tools?
You hit it. You know, that E that we have in exams, where it says all of the above. It literally hit them all. When I did the NetForce 4-hour Tom Clancy series, we kind of showed what would happen if we had a cyber attack in space and our electrical systems. Things would go down very quickly. In other words, the equivalent attack, if successful, would mean that we wouldn't have power, we wouldn't have light, we wouldn't have machinery, and you'd have to imagine a 21st century without the accoutrements under the underlying support system: lights, power, water, heat, whatever else we had. And this is quite serious. So we don't need to have a shell or a grenade coming in. We just need people who can be able to manipulate the keys on the internet. Now, the fact that our economy is sensitive to what you said is correct. Blockchain technology, which you know better than I do, was an attempt to get around that. But again, I saw the weakness in blockchain technology as having to rely on power. The minute you had to rely on power, that meant, ironically, you were in a paradoxical situation. You thought you were, not you, but you thought you were ahead of the game, but I needed Iceland or China to go 24/7 on their power grids in order to generate the amount of power that I needed for block technology. So in effect, that advanced technology was regressive in terms of depending on the nation state. What will happen? I think there will be all kinds of changes much faster than we're used to. The issue of the 15-year-old, the 19-year-old who smokes pot, I don't get into that. That's you're correct. I mean, those are the kids of this generation, the millennials, whom I know don't smoke pot, but they're really quite effective. They get involved in their local communities, and they know a lot about
Steve, if they're not smoking pot, 60% of them are on antidepressants. I'm just saying that there has to be some leniency, you know?
I got it. I agree with you. I don't think the admission criteria for anybody is correct. I mean, it's antiquated. And, you know, I don't know if there will be recruiting officers. That's an antiquated notion. But from the point of view where you're coming in or I come in, as I understand it, and you know this better than I do, the black hatters are recruited. In other words, those young people or older kids who can basically hack into a system automatically present themselves as a candidate to the NGA or some other.
Yeah, I mean, we'll basically have a system of consultants like Blackwater, Z, etc., and you know the government deals with the consultant company, and then whatever they do there is a little off book.
The so-called enemy of today becomes our ally of tomorrow. If he can hack into our systems, we want him, her, or whatever they want to call themselves.
So let's look at where we are right now with Iran and the format for what has taken place. And I definitely want to talk, if we have time later, a little bit about the jetliner that was brought down, who, how, what, where. But as Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. So, wonder above all wonder, Iran comes out, or the IRG comes out, admits the mistake, which to me is already like, wow, okay, that's not common that happens so quickly. Admits the mistake. Right away, the president's tweeting in Farsi. We understand the idea here. The idea is rile up the students, that's the main ones, get them to protest. It's been tried with color revolutions. From what I understand, it's possible that Facebook at minimum is blocking pro-regime messaging coming out of Iran, which we know who's running Facebook and a lot of these Silicon Valley companies. We know where the funding comes from. What is it going to work? I don't see it. I see failure